Tipp today in association with Slattery's of Pecan, your main Peugeot dealer for over 50 years in the Premier County. Slattery'sGarage.ie.
Good morning, welcome along to Tipp Today, 1800 938 007. That's our free phone number. It won't cost you if you want to make a call to us. And Leanne is producing today. Coming up on the show, we'll be speaking to Thomas Conway, our global news correspondent, in just a few moments' time. We'll hear from a mother who led a protest on the main guard in Clonmel over the weekend. Carrick-on-Suir students from the Transition Year Enterprise Programme will join us in studio. We'll also have a drug education officer with the HSE, John Leahy, with us. And Lee Murray is an Irish investment advisor based in Dubai, and he'll give us an insight into what it's like to be living in a Gulf state following the attack on Iran. So 1800 938 007. The text and WhatsApp is 083 311 3311. You can email tiptoday at tipfm.com. Let's have a look at the front pages, and as you can imagine, it's all about Iran and Donald Trump as well. The Irish Daily Mail telling us that President Donald Trump has said Iran is ready to start talks towards a peace deal after the death of its supreme leader. As conflict raged across the Middle East, Mr. Trump confirmed Iran's interim leadership had made contact, telling the magazine The Atlantic, "I will be talking to them." The Irish Times, and it's dominated by a most dramatic photograph indeed, and it's just smoke rising in a district of Tehran yesterday after it was targeted in a missile strike, but it's like something from a movie. The Irish Times telling us after the cold thrill contained within US President Donald Trump's message on Saturday confirming the killing of Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, yesterday brought into sharper focus the immediate consequences for the Middle East, and we'll be teasing that out in just a few moments' time. Let's go to the Irish Examiner, and the Examiner is dominated by a picture of Iraqi Shia Muslims holding pictures of the Iranian supreme leader who was killed by that strike in Tehran during a symbolic funeral in Sadr city, Baghdad, Iraq yesterday, and many Shiites across the region have taken to the streets to protest the US-Israeli strikes against Iran. The headline on the Examiner: Trump agrees to hold talks with Tehran's new leadership. Also reading on the Examiner today that the estimated 20,000 Irish people in the Middle East are being urged against taking perilous land journeys to escape the escalating conflict engulfing the region. And on a separate note on the Examiner, we're reading that the Irish community in Minneapolis is set to turn the city green for St. Patrick's Day as they look to give the city a lift after the recent federal immigration crackdown brought terror to the streets. And finally, a look at the Indo. Again, it's dominated by that picture of what is a war zone, I suppose, in Tehran. And they're telling us that airstrikes in Iran could go on for 4 weeks, says Donald Trump. Death toll rises as regime hits back at US bases in the region, and travellers stranded as all flights cancelled after US-Israel attacks. So let's look at what's making headlines today. If you'd like to make comment on any of that, we'd love to hear from you. Now, Donald Trump sent shockwaves across the world over the weekend when the US-Israeli airstrikes killed Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, along with immediate family members, including his daughter, son-in-law and granddaughter, many senior Iranian military and security leaders. The conflict spread to Lebanon this morning as Israel began striking Hezbollah targets after the group launched missiles and drones towards Israel's north in retaliation. Our global news correspondent from the Nina Guardian, Thomas Conway, is with me. Good morning to you, Thomas.
Good morning, Fran.
And good to talk to you today. You predicted this attack about a month ago. I was hoping you were wrong because where this will lead. And today, I suppose, one of the things we're doing is looking at the consequences of this attack, Thomas.
Yeah, the implications very much spreading across the region. As you mentioned there, Israeli attacks on Lebanon this morning, killing around 31. Iran engaging in widespread reprisals across the region, particularly targeting those Gulf states, the likes of Bahrain, Qatar, the UAE, where up to 20,000 Irish are residents. And there has been an incident this morning, US warplanes crashing in another Gulf state, Kuwait. So it is very much carnage across the region, and these are the consequences that flowed from that assassination of Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei over the course of the weekend. So it's an existential moment for the Middle East. It's an epochal moment. It will potentially, the next few days will shape the trajectory of this conflict. I don't think it will be a long conflict. I think the US, although it has amassed resources and although Israel has incredibly powerful military resources in the region, they can only last so long. And similarly, Iran's stockpiles of ballistic missiles, which were depleted heavily in that 12-day war against Israel last summer, are running low as well. So I don't think this will be a protracted conflict. I think it will extend perhaps for a couple of weeks, but I think Iran will be forced back to the negotiating table. Now, initial signs are not good. I note this morning that a senior Iranian leader, Ali Larijani, who many tip as a potential successor to Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, has said we will not engage in negotiations with the US. Now, that runs contrary to what you read out on the morning papers there, so it's very much unclear. But certainly the next few days will be crucial in terms of where this conflict actually goes.
Of course, it's impossible for the newspapers to keep up with this, I suppose, Thomas, because it's moving at the speed of light, you know, and opinions changing and optics changing all of the time.
Yeah, things shifting very, very quickly. And that is what you would expect. And I think it's a very worrying situation for the entirety of the Middle East, particularly those many Gulf states, the likes of, as I mentioned, Qatar, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Oman. And Oman was the one mediating the negotiations between the Iranian and US teams. Quite shockingly, Iran has hit out at them and attacked the ports on their Gulf coast, much to the dissatisfaction of the Oman foreign minister, who was a senior figure in trying to cobble negotiations together, and I suspect will be frantically scurrying around the region to try and bring this conflict to an end. The other implication, I suppose, that people are likely to feel here is the oil price jump. Yes. Oil prices have surged after the attack of the weekend. Iran has threatened the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, which is a crucial maritime passageway through which a high proportion of seaborne crude oil travels. So that would have major implications on the world at large, and Donald Trump will be acutely aware of that. But make no mistake, it is a high-risk strategy that Donald Trump is playing out here, but it is very high reward. He has already achieved a certain degree of success in taking out the Ayatollah. That was an extremely bold move, but he came under pressure, obviously, both from the Israelis and within the US political system, Republican hawks who would be advocating for an attack. Now, the question is now, does the regime disintegrate? What strategy or what modus operandi does Donald Trump employ now? Does he go for a Venezuela-style option in which he installs a more compliant leader who might be sympathetic to US interests? Or does he try and decapitate the regime? And many of the leaders have been decapitated already, but does he try and take out the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, which are essentially Iran's military police? So it will be very interesting.
Sure. Yeah. I beg your pardon, Thomas. What should we read into the fact that we've had protests there against the killing of the Supreme Leader, but the night before then we had people in the streets that seemed to be very happy about the American-Israeli attack. So what should we read into that?
I think the sense I'm getting is Iran is a divided society to a certain degree. It's a highly diverse, multi-confessional society, many different ethnic groups, as well as Persians, who would be the dominant ethnicity. You have Kurds, you have Turkics, Azeris, all sorts of different ethnic groups with different attitudes towards the clerical regime. And while undoubtedly a proportion supported the Ayatollah and, were in line with the hardline theocracy, many people didn't. And it depends now on their ability to stand up. I mean, Trump cautioned them over the weekend. He told them not to come out until the time was right. But there will come a time, I think, over the next few weeks in which the American president will encourage people to once again take to the streets. And as he said in a Truth Social post over the weekend, to rise up and seize their democratic institutions. The question is there a figurehead? Is there a structure within the protest movement capable of actually seizing those democratic institutions and making change? That is an open question. But at the moment, with missiles and bombs raining down on top of them, I think the only thing the Iranian people can do is stay sheltered and stay away from the carnage.
Yes. And what about the possibility of a royalist restoration there? I mean, my understanding is that Mr. Trump isn't backing that, really.
You're talking about Reza Pahlavi, the son of the former Shah. Yeah, well, I mean, initially it seemed that, he might have been an option, but Mr. Trump has cooled on that option over the past few days. I don't think he commands enough popular support within Iran. I don't think there is an appetite for a return to the monarchic system that they had up to the Iranian Revolution in 1979. That said, I don't think Iran is suddenly going to transition to democracy. And it is worth noting that democratic change and regime change very rarely happens when outside forces impose it via airstrikes. It usually takes something greater. Now, I'm not saying it won't happen, and America are certainly not going to put boots on the ground. They've already had a couple of fatalities, and they're not going to get engaged in another forever war in the Middle East. And can we just take it a little closer to home? Because again, my understanding this morning is that Keir Starmer has now agreed to allow the Americans to use the British bases after initially saying no to that. Does that make them a target? Because again, my understanding is that those missiles that Iran has would be capable of hitting targets on mainland Britain. And earlier this morning, there was a drone attack on a British naval base in Cyprus, which makes it very real. I know Cyprus is it's far out in the Mediterranean, but it's part of Europe. And that brought the consequences home to Keir Starmer. Initially, if you saw the statement by European leaders, which included Starmer, it was very cautious. And I think it underlined the fact that Europe has very little sway, very little influence in the Middle East. But certainly, if there is support offered by European capitals, that will bring real threats. You've already I've heard reports of attacks on French troops in the Middle East. I don't think the war, it's unlikely to extend onto the European continent. But make no mistake, Iran has a very powerful stock of ballistic missiles, which, although depleted, are extremely powerful. It's a highly sophisticated society, Iran. It has many military assets at its disposal. And when backed into a corner, the fear is being realised that it will lash out. And that seems to be exactly what it is doing.
Yeah, will you just take us to the beginning of this again? Because most people would have been of the opinion that the talks with Iran were going pretty well. So was this kicked off by Israel with support from America, or was this America and Israel buying into this? How did that all come about from talks that seemed to be positive?
My understanding is that intelligence was received by the CIA and perhaps Mossad on Friday night, Saturday morning, that the Ayatollah and a number of senior clerics, members of the clerical establishments, had decided to gather in a compound in Tehran. And apparently that precipitated the strike. That was the spark which encouraged Donald Trump, in conjunction with Benjamin Netanyahu and the Israeli government, to act. They knew the whereabouts. They had been tracking the whereabouts of the Ayatollah for months. And once they got intelligence to say that he was in this compound, they obviously took the risk and decided that they were going to take him out. And once that decision was made, I think there was no going back, because Iran was always going to retaliate with force with that. But you are correct to say that the negotiations seem to be going very well, or rather well. Now, they kind of broke down somewhat on Thursday. The Omani Foreign Minister Al-Busaidi kind of rushed to Washington to meet J.D. Vance, who has been, it's worth noting, kind of sidelined in this whole process. That came to nothing. And obviously the intelligence they received encouraged them to act, and that's exactly what they did, and we're now seeing the consequences of that unravel.
What about back home in the States then, and what about Congress and how they're reacting to this?
There is a thing called the War Powers Act of 1973, and Democrats have suggested that what Mr. Trump is doing contravenes that, and they've called for a vote. But I get no sense that they will rein in the president's power. It didn't work in relation to Venezuela. It didn't work in relation to the boats in the Caribbean. And I think he has a lot of Republican support. A lot of Republicans would be Iran hawks, a lot of them very loyal to Israel, none more so than the Alabama Senator Lindsey Graham, who has effectively rejoiced at what is happening. So I get very little sense that they're going to rein Trump in. Now, that said, as I mentioned earlier, I don't expect this to be a sustained campaign that lasts for months upon months and perhaps years. There is very little appetite for that within the MAGA base. And it's worth noting that senior kind of MAGA loyalists, former Trump loyalists or Trump supporter Marjorie Taylor Greene has come out and condemned it. Tucker Carlson, the broadcaster, has condemned it also. So you are seeing the fractures that we've known about within Mr. Trump's movement make themselves known. But at the same time, as far as Congress is concerned, I think he would have support for what he is doing for the moment. What
we haven't touched on is the support that might be there for Iran, and particularly here I'm thinking of the Russians and the Chinese, Thomas. What about that? Because if that became more evident, that would certainly be a game changer, wouldn't it?
Yeah, Vladimir Putin condemned it. There was a bit of irony, him condemning the attack when you compare it to what he's doing in Ukraine. But really, Russia and China have kind of sat idly by and watched the events unfold. They've adopted a very cautious approach. China in particular, who would be an economic ally of Iran, certainly in the past, but kind of has allowed things to play out and have not got involved, much like they refused to get involved during the 12-day war last year. So they are factors to be considered, and Iran would traditionally be an ally of Russia and China. They are part of what might be called the axis of resistance: Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea. But you've seen, other instances within the Middle East. Russia was an ally of Syria. That regime came toppling down in December 2024. There have been other instances in which Russian allies, Libya, for instance, the regime there disintegrated. So very reluctant to get involved from their perspective, and I don't expect them to really involve themselves too much in this conflict. I think they will see this as America's conflict and America's problem, but certainly it doesn't do their standing any good.
I'm not sure how valid the conversation is by comparing what happened in Venezuela to Iran, because it's a very different jurisdiction, and I find it very hard to believe that there could be regime change without boots on the ground, Thomas.
Yeah, but I think, you will meet with extreme reluctance. Donald Trump will be met with extreme reluctance if he does go for that option. It would have to be a quick, very focused, very concentrated option, and the Ukrainian regime would have to be sufficiently weak to convince the Americans that they would be capable of winning, and the Israelis, I suppose. Now, the Iranian regime is built to endure. The moment Ayatollah Ali Khamenei was killed on Saturday, a three-man interim council was formed, which would lead the country. They then delegate power to an assembly of experts, which appoints the next Ayatollah. There are questions around how the assembly of experts would even meet in these circumstances, given that America and Israel clearly have intelligence and would be able to take them out. But, there are still very many hardliners within the Iranian regime, and all it has to do now to win this conflict is to survive. Whereas America is looking at full regime change, and that would be an incredibly difficult thing to achieve. All the regime has to do is stay intact. It may have lost its senior leader, it may have lost a number of senior figures, but there is still a degree of support for it within the population. There are still many, political figures on the ground in Iran who haven't been touched. So if they manage to keep the regime intact, they will call this a victory.
And just finally, Thomas, we haven't mentioned the Revolutionary Guard Corps, because they could be pivotal here.
Yeah, they could be pivotal. The Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps, or the IRGC, they're the military arm of the regime, and they are extremely powerful. They have wielded, their power across the Middle East, and trained militias from the Houthis in Yemen to Hamas to Hezbollah, which we mentioned earlier on, and they would be key. If some of them jump side towards the protesters, which is a possibility, you may see, regime change could happen. But that will take an awful lot. The other option is that they might seize power. I don't know if you saw yesterday, the Iranian Foreign Minister, Abbas Araghchi, who is involved in the diplomatic talks, essentially said that the IRGC are an independent group now, that they are acting somewhat independently, which suggested, it was an admission really, that we'll say the president and parts of the Iranian government do not have jurisdiction over them. So what they do, the decisions they make over these next few days will be crucial, and the extent to which America and Israel target them will also be potentially very important.
And while it seems trivial, I suppose, when you consider the loss of life that will probably happen over the coming days and weeks, Thomas, we will be hit in the pocket, because you alluded to this earlier on, the effect on global oil and trade, because that is the real weapon that Iran has, is it not?
It is. And its strategic location near the Strait of Hormuz, on the Gulf, with lots of oil, and not just oil, but industrial parts, gas,
yes,
all sorts of equipment flowing through the Strait of Hormuz into the Gulf, or out into the ocean. That is potentially will have huge consequences in terms of the global economy. I mean, I mentioned earlier, oil prices surging, Asian stock markets are down. I'll be very interested to see, once I put down the phone, what sort of state the European stock markets are in, and the American stock market later on today. So you are going to see the ramifications of this kind of ripple, not just throughout the Middle East, but economically across the globe. And people will notice this, I suppose, with the prices at the pumps. But I suppose the loss of life, and you mentioned it there, there was an attack on a school. We're not sure whether that was an American or Israeli missile, or perhaps an Iranian missile gone wrong with, over 100 kills. It is devastating. So, that's worth mentioning as well. All
right. Thomas, thanks for your time this morning. Thank you, and good morning to you. That is our global news correspondent, Thomas Conway from the Nina Guard. Leanne spoke to John in Dubai this morning. Unfortunately, he just couldn't come on air with us this morning, but he did say that there's nothing out of the normal happening in Dubai. He said that everybody's going about their daily lives as normal. The motorway is full of cars as usual. He said there seems to be no panic. He left Ireland 2 decades ago, and he says that he believes he's actually safer in Dubai than he would be in Ireland. He said Ireland should be looking to Dubai's government for guidance, and he also said mainstream media have ran with a narrative that simply is not true. Everybody is safe and at ease in Dubai, which is kind of interesting, because I was reading this morning about a luxury hotel in Dubai that was hit. But anyway, we will be going live to Dubai just after 10 o'clock on the programme this morning. We'll take a break, back with more.
Tipp FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puck On. Main Peugeot dealers in the Premier County. And now stocking the full range of the luxury French car brand DS Automobiles. Book your test drive today with Slattery's Garage, Puck On. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Tipp FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puck On. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
1800 938 007 083 311 3311. We'd be glad to hear from you. Now, a local mother of two boys with ASD led a protest on the main guard in Clonmel last Saturday over the ongoing threats to SNAs. Now, while the government has paused the cuts, as you know, following the public outcry, indeed, Sabrina Kelly says there has to be stronger commitment from the Education Minister. And Sabrina is with me in studio. Good morning to Sabrina.
Morning, Fran.
And thanks for coming in to us. You must be exhausted, are you?
Small bit. Small bit tired, yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming in. Would you tell me about organising this protest? Because you're describing what the government has done is kicking the can down the road where SNAs are concerned.
Absolutely. So obviously this has started nearly 3 weeks ago now, with the government making the announcement of cuts to SNAs. As you have mentioned, I have two boys with ASD. One is in Clonmel and the other is in Scoil out in Cashel.
Yes.
We would not survive as parents to two boys without the help of the school and the SNAs. As you know, Fran, we have been here with you before.
Sure.
In the fight we had for Josh to get a school place. And now it's like, here we go again.
Just uncertainty.
Absolute. And not only that, then, I don't know, did anyone see, but there was kind of a little announcement then from the Labour Party highlighted it, that there's going to be approximately 200 families affected again in September with no school places. So even though this whole fiasco was going on about the SNAs, there's another little thing that's going to start being highlighted now again, the lack of school
scrambling
places.
for places again. Yeah.
And as a mum that has been through that, I have had a couple of parents reach out to me already, just asking what we did, asking for advice, and you just kind of feel like, why? What have our kids ever done to deserve this? No other parent has to go through the fights that we have to go through for our kids. And we wouldn't be able to do it without the SNAs and the teachers and everyone involved.
And Sabrina, when you hear the government saying that they're investing more money than ever in special needs classes and in SNAs indeed, and in general education for people with disability, what does that make you feel?
Fran, it's really, really difficult because the government are able to come out and make these announcements, and that's great for them because they're made to look like, for people that aren't in this situation, they're probably thinking, but what are we complaining about? They've pulled 19 million, they've done this, but what's not actually being highlighted is the demands for kids with additional needs, the amount of new diagnoses, the amount of therapies needed. If you look at the circular 30, which is kind of causing a lot of these issues, that's based back in 2014. Numbers have doubled since that year of kids with additional needs. I always say, I'm a mum. My youngest is 7, my oldest is nearly 18. When Ryan was 3, 2.5, 3, he was
your
diagnosed.
older boy.
This is
Yes.
my older boy,
Yeah.
sorry, Fran.
No.
When he was diagnosed, he went straight into what they called back then early intervention. There was a team of a paediatric consultant, a public health nurse, OT, physio, speech and language. There was a team, and they went in, Ryan went in, assessments were done, and then it was like, he needs a special school.
Right, so compare that to Josh's experience.
There's no comparison.
Isn't that amazing? So it's deteriorated.
It's deteriorated, absolutely. And people always, people will always ask me that because of, I suppose, the age difference between Ryan and Josh. I can hand on my heart say that I wish we could go back to those times when it was early intervention and there was I had no worries, Fran. Like, Ryan went to Skull Cormac. He got, at that time, there was speech and language, there was physio available in the school. So if Ryan used to have issues with walking on his tippy toes, he used to have his speech, he had speech, but it wouldn't have been as clear. And he could avail of those therapies in the school. The government took all that. You know, they took the early intervention, they took all the therapies from the school and left our kids with nothing. And that's when SNAs came to they saved the day. Yeah. And obviously the teachers, I hate not saying the teachers because obviously they're a main part of it as well, but yes, this is about the SNAs and the cuts. Like, SNAs came in and filled the shoes of those therapies that weren't being provided in schools, even though it's not, I suppose, they're in their job description. The government don't want them doing educational support, you know. The SNAs do that, and now they're trying to take that from our kids as well.
What can I put it to you, just for the sake of argument, that the government, you know, they said that this review of the SNA allocations was about making the best of resources, Sabrina, you know, making sure that the SNAs were available to the most needy and that sort of. Do you take, I mean, while it was all dealt with extremely clumsily, was there good heart behind this, or?
No.
Okay.
I see people every day, you know, like, there's a community of us mums, dads with kids with additional needs, and we all talk, this shouldn't be made into a competition between parents now. Yeah. You know, it shouldn't. And that's what's happening, unfortunately. It's, well, my child has this and needs that, and my child has this and needs that. And parents are now nearly at loggerheads because you are not taking the SNA from my child because my child needs it more than your child. And unfortunately,
that's awful.
That is what's happening, you know, like, and I hate, social media is the bane of my life, but it also does give us the information. It does.
And the platform, in fairness, as well.
Absolutely.
Yes, yeah.
And that is what's going to happen, Fran, unfortunately. Like, a child, I spoke to a mum yesterday, and she has a child awaiting a diagnosis, and this child just needs 5-minute breaks, you know, just movement breaks to get the child out of the classroom, just to get them regulated. The government and the NCSE don't see that as a primary care need. You know, that's a secondary care need. But for that child, it is a primary care need, because if she doesn't get that break movement, then the dysregulation will start.
This is very interesting. So this really does illustrate that they don't get the complexity, because every child is different, with very different needs.
Absolutely, Fran. Absolutely. Yeah. Like, just for example, you know, I have no problem in talking about my kids. They're my kids, and I will put their stories out there. So let's say Thursday, Josh went into school, and Josh is non-verbal, and how we communicate is there's obviously apps, Aladdin apps in school, and then the teacher will write notes to us every day home if Josh had a difficult day. And unfortunately, Thursday was a very difficult day. I suppose my headspace, I was like going, okay, this protest, I want to do the best for our SNAs. And then I read this letter, a note stating that Josh didn't have a great day in school. Unfortunately, there was biting, hitting, kicking, and trying to flip a table in the classroom. And straight away, I'm like, oh my God, who's he after hurting? You know, you just go, that's where you go to. Yeah. And I rang his teacher, and I was like, is everyone okay? And the teacher and the SNA were like, it's fine, we're all okay, he didn't hurt any child. I was like, but did he hurt one of ye? Yeah. We don't matter, is what they said to us. We are okay, Sabrina, and Josh is okay. But there was something triggering this meltdown. And lo and behold, Josh is at home sick all weekend. that's how well they know our children. That is what they do. I can't, like, myself and my husband William were like, oh no, what's he after doing? What's he after doing? You know, you just go to panic mode because you're afraid he's going to hurt someone else.
Yeah.
And their reply is, we don't matter. Josh is the priority here. Josh is fine. And as I say, then he did end up with temperatures and unwell over the weekend.
Right, but they knew there was an issue. They knew there was an issue.
They know our kids.
What did you make of it? I know that he was on RT talking about something separate, but I think he's Foreign Affairs Minister, isn't he? Thomas Byrne. He defended the U-turn by the government, saying that it was important that the government was responsive, which I got a bit of a laugh out of. He also said a lot of work to be done, including a review of the role of SNAs. Like, what does that mean, really?
So it all comes down to the primary and secondary needs of a child. SNAs are undervalued, 100%, Fran. Like, I love them all. Mm-hmm. Like, my two boys are well looked after and I trust them immensely with my kids. But in a classroom, their role isn't clear. And I'm not saying that to defend that minister, but they don't. The government want them to do one thing, but that's not what they're doing in the classroom. In the classroom, they're doing so much more. They really are. Like, the government are saying, you know, they're not there to kind of support their educational needs, but they're there to support their primary care needs. Their educational needs won't be met unless their primary and secondary care needs are met. It's not just about their primary.
But that's what I mean about a lack of understanding around the complexity of this.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, most of the government sit in their offices every day. The NCSE sit in offices every day, Fran. You know, I put it out there on Saturday. When has any of those government ministers, NCSE, the CNOs, they go and visit a school for 5 minutes.
The NCSE, that's the National Council for Special Education.
Sorry.
Yeah.
And they don't, like, they look like, they make it look like that they're going into the schools and they're doing this and they're doing that, but they don't spend the time with the kids. They don't spend the time with the SNAs and see what the SNAs will have to do. They might sit down the back of a classroom for 10 minutes, but all the time they're there, they're ticking their boxes. And, you know, there isn't an understanding, as you said, of the complexity of all the children, not just one child.
Were you disappointed with the turnout on Saturday?
I was hoping we'd have a better turnout. I was. Now, I can't thank enough everyone. Like, we had a few politicians, we had Cara came and spoke, an SNA spoke from the heart, like truly spoke from the heart. We didn't have any turnout from Fianna Fáil or Fine Gael ministers or councillors, whatever, even though it was put out there, you know. But yeah, I was small bit disappointed, small bit. But look, people came out. We got our point out there, you know.
Yes.
We did, and I've become involved with a group that's based in Dublin, which is Save Our SNAs. So there will be more. It's not ending, as you said. It's not a pause isn't good enough.
Right, so there will be more
there
protests.
Will be more.
But I presume you would urge our public representatives to come on board with this, would you?
Absolutely. Yeah. Even, you know, like, as I say, we had a few of the politicians or that just to speak, and, you know, Seamus, I will say Seamus Healy has always respected us and has always had our backs, and, you know, presents it in the Dáil nearly every week. So we're so grateful for him. But we need a few more now. You know, we do. We need
I saw
more
Richie
support.
Malloy speaking. I saw Martin Brown there.
Martin
as well.
was there. Dean McGrath was there from the Forsyth Union.
Yes.
As I say, Cara spoke. Lorraine, the principal from Scollingasa. Skullcormac. And then I had one of Josh's SNAs, Billy from Scollingasa, spoke as well. Yeah, it was
Okay, but more to come, Sabrina.
more to come.
More to come.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right, okay. Well,
Yeah.
we'd be delighted to help you out to publicise
Thank you.
whenever you're doing that. But in the meantime, my best to you and your
Thank
family.
you.
Thanks, Sabrina. We'll take a break. We're back with more in just a moment.
Tip FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
If it matters to you, it matters to us. Call Tip today on 1800 938 007.
Now, Tipperary County Council is extending the current parking bylaws consultation until 4:30 on March 13th, and public submissions were due to close last week. But Councillor Maureen McGrath is urging the council to extend the deadline, and she joins me now. Good morning to you, Maureen.
Good morning, Fran, to all your listeners.
And good to talk to you. Why did you urge the council to extend the deadline? Was there not enough people getting involved in this, do you think, Maureen?
Yeah, look, this time last week we were at our county council, our municipal district meeting in Tipp Town, and at that meeting I highlighted my concerns that at that stage only 5 submissions had been received to the county council about these draft parking bylaws, which will affect every town in the county. It's a really, really important document, and I just felt that the public hadn't been engaged enough, maybe weren't fully aware. It's, there's so much things going on. Business people, they have so many other things to worry about, but it's a really important document and people need to engage. So I flagged that with the council. In addition to that, I had noted some technical issues on the website over the previous week, so I thought it wasn't really very fair on people to not have the full opportunity to engage on what is going to be a very important document for towns around the county, particularly Care.
I think part of it is just confusion, because that notion that the proposal divides the towns into 3 different groups, there is a bit of confusion out there, Maureen.
There is, Fran, absolutely. And it's taken me a long time even to go through the proposed bylaws and really dissect them and understand how they're going to impact the different towns. And I suppose what's important to understand is since 2014, since the amalgamation of the county council, some councillors have been calling for the harmonisation across our towns, because it's been aired on your show plenty of times. Clonmel might be $1.20 an hour for parking. Care is free 2-hour on-street parking, and Nina is cheaper. I'm not sure the exact rate, but that level of differences across different towns was deemed unfair, and I can understand why some councillors would be raising that. However, I suppose it was never something that I pushed too much, because coming from Care and being a representative for Care Town, I know that we have always enjoyed the free on-street parking, and a harmonisation meant that was going to be up for discussion and debate and review as well. So it is, and that's why I'm really, I suppose, putting it out there for people in every town, but particularly Care, to understand what might be coming down the track, and that now is your opportunity to put in a submission.
Well, can you help me to understand it, Maureen? Because my understanding of harmonisation was that there would be the same rates right across the county. Why was there a need to divide the towns into 3 different groups?
Well, I suppose just Tier 1, just to give the listeners an understanding as well, Tier 1 is towns with a population of excess of 12,000. Tier 2 is between 8,000 and 12,000. And Tier 3 are towns of 8,000 or less. So Clonmel is Tier 1, Turles and Nina are Tier 2, Roscrea, Templemore, Tiptown, Care, Cashel and Carrick are Tier 3. So, look, I suppose I didn't design the draft bylaws. I do know that those that did, they had to take bylaws from every single town in the county, try and dissect them, try and put them together, and they felt that doing it in different tiers was the fairest way. I don't necessarily agree, but then they said the economic drivers are the bigger towns, and again, I suppose we hear from businesses in Clonmel particularly about the struggles that they face, so why are they put at a higher tier than the other 2 bigger towns, Turles and Nina? Do you know, that's also a big question. Do you know, so this isn't perfect by any matter of means, and this isn't the final document, but it is important. It's 20 pages long of a document, and in it are the proposed timeframes in different zones in town. So that's another important thing. As you go further out of town, the cheaper the parking is, or the longer stay it is as well. to encourage, I suppose, a turnover of cars. Because what you do see in some places is people park up and they might stay there for the day, and they don't really benefit the football in town either, because they might just be parked there and people would try to come in, can't get parking, and they go on out of town, maybe into the shopping centre that might have a free parking space, free of charge, So it's a really complicated process, and part of me thinks that this might be the reason that it hasn't happened before now, because it is kind of pitching towns against each other, And I know, being a councillor again for Care, people say, well, why can Care have free on-street parking and my town can't? So I always felt that was going to be a really divisive debate, and nobody wants to increase parking charges, or if you don't have parking charges, nobody wants to start having them. But it's when this has been called since 2014, they say they can't harmonise it all across the board at once, so they have to break it into the tiers, that maybe in time it will be reviewed again into across the board harmonisation.
And under the proposal as well, Maureen, I mean, everybody would receive 20 minutes of free parking in every town. But at the moment, what is the situation in Care, for example?
Well, at the moment in Care, it's there's 2 hours free on-street parking, So
right, but that's what I mean. Will the 20 minutes be imposed on Care then, and will you not be able to have that then if there's a harmonisation?
You will. You'll have the 20 minutes. Every parking space will have the 20 minutes,
yes.
But after that, it will be pay and display.
Right, but you have 2 hours, you're saying to me, in Care.
So yeah, what I'm saying and what I'm trying to get out is that will be lost in Care.
Yeah, that's the important thing for people to know now, isn't it?
Absolutely. And as well, what's important is the proposed zone. So on the consultation website, you can see the different maps for different towns. And for Care, you go from Castle Street up to the square, down towards the post office, and up towards the graveyard there on Old Church Street on the Clonmel Road. That is now going to be paid parking zones. And what's important then is to note the knock-on effects that might potentially happen in the likes of Pier Street or further down Church Street, where there's residents that park on the street as well that are going to feel that, because people say, oh, sure, look, if I park 10 metres further, I'm going to get it for free, and I've no concerns. So it really is an important document, because as a councillor and as a member of the Roads SPC, who will be dissecting the public submissions that come in, we need to have the backup in the numbers, in the engagement, to say, these are my concerns, this is what this is. And that's why I really raised it last week, that 5 submissions wasn't going to be enough. It would be bad to show public engagement, and it would be bad for the council as well to see that level of.
But you see, when you have this kind of apathy, is it because people feel that you can engage and you can submit all you want, but really at the end of the day, this is a done deal?
Look, I don't know. I wouldn't say it's a done deal. I know that it's going to get more divisive, and that's why it's welcome to have with 2 more weeks. The 13th of March is the deadline, but towns, your listeners in towns across the county should engage in this. Look at the maps, look at where the changes are being proposed, And what's important then as well, Fran, is the residence parking. At the moment, we have even a variation in the prices of those across the county. They're €10, I understand, in Clonmel, €50 in Nina for the year. So harmonisation for those as well will happen. There's also then, it's Monday to Saturday, 8:30 to 6:30 in the evening, with the allowance for up to 13 days per year of no parking fees. So obviously that will be the bank holidays, which there's 10, but there's 3 days there for each town to decide for themselves, maybe in the run up to Christmas or any other days that they deem, to get people into town and
okay, so you're urging people to submit, and the easiest way to do that, Maureen, is what exactly?
The council website, www.tipperary.co.ie/consult. The link is available on my social media pages, but on the council website as well. And to go on there and make a submission, read, what's being proposed, look at the maps before the 13th of March.
Right. And just before I let you go, and I have very little time left, but I know that information is now published to show the 5 possible routes for the Greenway, some of which is across private land, I know, Maureen. What information have you for us on that?
Yeah, Okay, so this public consultation opened last week. It's for the greenway between Cahir and Cashel. And I suppose, like, what I find difficult about this, and I encourage people again to get involved with the process, is that in order for the council to avail of any funding from the department for the construction of greenways, they need to advertise up to 3 to 5 routes, which will be done by consultants. But from a council point of view, in the Tipp Cashel, we always intended that this greenway would go along the existing R639, the old Carrick-on-Suir road. So, like, we are wasting a huge amount of taxpayers' money through consultations and through consultant fees by dividing up or creating routes through private lands, which landowners aren't, consenting to, and which we as councillors never really intended to look at either, just for the sake of ticking the box.
That's
so
crazy.
That
That's crazy because you'd imagine the preferred route and the easiest route is to follow the road, as you said. Eh?
Absolutely, and it brings in New Inn Village there as well,
Yeah,
and might bring some economic activity there too. So, like, we were really aghast when we seen the maps last week that there's 5 different routes that play here. Last Wednesday and Thursday there was consultations in Cahir and Cashel, and I attended one of them. And one of the morning following it, I got a call from a really concerned farmer that said, "I've never heard of any talk of this coming through my land, and I've seen these maps, and I'm really shocked and I'm really worried." But we never, even as the public reps, intended that to happen. But because of the way the I suppose guidelines are written from the department, you have to look at them just for the sake of looking at them, which I just think is madness and a total waste of money. And as a result, I put a motion into our council meeting for next week to review that, to write to the minister to review that, because you're spending money just for the sake of ticking the box.
All right, I just want to clear a couple of things up. I know that Matty was in attendance at that public meeting on Saturday, Maureen, and I know that Councillor Michael Chicken Brennan was there as well, just to clear that up. Thanks, Maureen. Thanks for coming on with us.
Thanks, Fran. If I could just commend Sabrina as well, and I wasn't able to go, but well done to her and to Mag Delahunty was the SNA who spoke on the day. It was great to listen to Sabrina and commend her and her important advocacy as well.
All right, thanks. Good morning to you, Maureen. That's Councillor Maureen McGrath speaking to us there. News and information is coming up.
Tipp FM's Tipp Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puck On. Main Peugeot dealers in the Premier County. And now stocking the full range of the luxury French car brand DS Automobiles. Book your test drive today with Slattery's Garage, Puck On. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Tipp FM's Tipp Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puck On. Over half a century driving the people of Tipperary and surrounding areas with quality, reliable and economical vehicles, new and used. Call the sales team today to discuss your next car or van on 067 24 111.
Thanks, Paul. Welcome back to the second hour of Tipp Today. Now, there's growing concern about the security of the Gulf states following the US-Israeli airstrikes on Iran and the subsequent retaliation from Tehran. Liam Murray is an Irish investment advisor based in Dubai, where he's been living for the past 3 years, and he joins me now. Good morning to you, Liam.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm well, and thank you so much for taking our call this morning. We heard reports of a luxury hotel in Dubai being engulfed in flames, but you were telling Leanne that things are not as bad as people might think, Liam.
Yeah, I think things in the media back home are being portrayed a lot worse than they actually are here on the ground. Of course, like, the main concern here is not with the UAE itself. We are not the main target here.
Yeah.
It's conflict between the US and Iran, what it seems to be. And of course, there is things passing over the airspace here, but the UAE Defence Forces are prepared for this, and they're doing a great job to get all of these things, out of the sky. And these protocols are put in place for things like this. There was some things that happened and some shrapnel did come loose, but on the ground here, people are still in work. People are still going to the shop. Restaurants are still open. Like, it's not nowhere near as bad as what it's being made out to be. I have family calling me worried because they're seeing all these things and hearing all these things. But, I went to the gym there. I just came back. There's normal life is still happening, but people are just being more cautious. That's all it is.
When you heard about the attacks on Iran, what were your immediate thoughts, Liam?
I didn't really have much thoughts, to be honest. I didn't think we would be like directly or indirectly affected by, what was happening in Iran. Obviously, shortly after, the US air bases here began to get targeted. So we were made quickly aware of that. But I did not believe we would be directly affected by this. I had a feeling that, things like the oil prices and everything would surge. But other than that, I didn't really get a plan or expect anything like this.
And of course, that is the big danger, the economic fallout where this is concerned. I mean, this is your game. You're an investment advisor, Liam. Have you concerns about the economic fallout?
In the short term, we're not really sure what to expect and what we anticipate that's going to happen. But, if you look, for example, obviously, like the horrible things that happened in 9/11, the property prices there did never drop to zero, and nobody, everybody didn't flee the city after things like this happened.
Yeah.
And what's happening here in the UAE is nowhere near to the scale of things that are happening around the world in other cities or any other disasters that happened. As I said, things are still functioning here. Things are still operating. People are going to restaurants. Life here is obviously a bit displaced, and it's a bit, people are a little bit scared, obviously, but, normal life is still ongoing. And I believe that the people here who live here and have chose to come here already took a big jump to step outside their comfort zone. So I don't expect that it's going to have the massive effect that people think it will.
It's very interesting insight indeed. And when the Americans were building up their Navy and their aircraft, indeed, over the last few weeks, would that have been discussed in the restaurants and pubs, for example, or in the workspace, Liam?
Not so much. Like political things are not really discussed about here too much. We don't like to put too much emphasis on these things because, again, it's all hearsay and rumors at the end of the day. And that's the worst thing that can happen is people spreading false information, people, saying things that they don't actually 100% know are true. And this is what creates panic at the end of the day. And we can see that in Ireland from even my family calling me. They're in more of a state of panic back home than we are here. And we're actually living here, so in what world does that make sense? The people who are actually here are nowhere near as much panic as the people who are miles away from it. So it just shows that people speaking on things that they're not actually familiar with and have no clue of what's actually going on in the ground just creates panic and creates issues in the long term.
It's very interesting because, obviously, but all over our newspapers today and yesterday, indeed, concern about the security of the Gulf states. Dubai, along with Qatar and Bahrain and Kuwait and Saudi as well. So you're saying that's kind of misrepresenting what the reality is on the ground.
Yeah, of course, a slight misrepresentation. Of course, you can't ignore the obvious fact that there are missiles passing through our airspace, but we are not the direct target, as I said. We are just, the UAE are doing a great job at clearing these things out of the airspace, and then at the end of the day, not the direct target here. So people on the ground here not being targeted. That's why life can continue as normal, just being more cautious.
And did anybody make contact with you? Because the Foreign Affairs Minister here, Helen McEnany, said that she's very concerned at the spread of the conflict to the United Arab Emirates, and she was urging citizens to take shelter and to register on with their local embassy and stuff. Did you get any notification of that?
I didn't get any notification, but obviously, as you do, scrolling through X, or my family sent me these things, so I got notification from my family, but directly on the ground from the embassy, no, there was no notification directly given to me about anything like that.
Interesting. And do you think you'll register? Do you think that's even necessary?
I personally don't believe it's a necessity. I know my family would like me to register because they're obviously, more anxious from where they are. But from the point I'm at, I do not think it's a necessity to register. But I suppose to keep my mother happy, I probably will, just so she's at ease. But personally, no, I don't believe so.
Well, it's very important to keep your mother happy.
Of course, it's the most important thing.
You're 3 years there, Liam. Was it a culture shock for you?
Surprisingly, no. From the minute I actually kind of landed off the plane, I didn't really feel like there was any friction with being here, despite it even being like a largely, Muslim background area. It's a large percentage of expats here, like, people who are from other countries. So everyone kind of just lives together in harmony. There wasn't really any friction at all with coming here or any culture shock. Again, it leads back into the thing where in the Western world, it's portrayed as this completely strict Muslim country. But in reality, when you live here or you even come on holidays here, it's completely different to what you'd expect.
Interesting. And to do business there, is that very different, Liam?
I wouldn't say it's very different. Of course, a lot of the people here would be Arabic speakers, but everyone speaks English here. So the language of business would be mainly English. Now, there was a slight, translation barrier at the beginning because obviously I'm Irish and I talk very fast a lot of the time. Now it's a bit easier, but, at the beginning it was quite difficult to transition and learn to speak a bit slower. But if I find that the local people here are more inclined and happier to work with European people for business anyway. So I didn't find that there was any difficulty with doing business here with anyone in the local area.
That's interesting. Why are they happier to work with people like yourselves?
This, I haven't understood the reasoning behind it. I don't know if it's an education thing. I don't know what it would be, but I found that they were more than happy to work with someone who was from Europe. And even the common thing that I've been told from other people in other industries, it's the same thing.
It's interesting indeed. Are you largely advising Irish companies out there, or are you working with all sorts of companies?
So I am an investment advisor working with individuals and some companies then as well. So I deal with real estate and second citizenships also. So I'm dealing mainly with, B2C type of things. I deal with people locally in the area here, like, from various different nationalities, but also dealing with people from Ireland also.
Right. So there was a guy on to us called David Hughes. I think he knows you, and he said he's going to be listening in this morning because you're you're coming on. He said he's a fan of yours. So do you know David?
I do. I play paddle with David.
Oh, right. Very, very good indeed. Well, he was saying all sorts of stuff to us that you had a great face for radio and stuff like that. But look, you can sort that out with himself.
It sounds like him, all right.
So basically, you're saying to people here, I mean, if we have relations and friends out in the Emirates, you're saying calm down.
Yeah, they're like, it's ongoing. It shouldn't be ignored. But again, it's nowhere near as bad. Like I went to the gym today. People are out working. Cafes are open. People are going for walks. Normal life is still apparent, but people are just told to be more cautious. Some public sector things are off work today or working from home just because, freedom of movement around. But it's not as bad. I know a lot of things are being twisted. I know one of my friends was on a different radio channel yesterday he had a pre-recorded call, and they actually snipped all of the negative parts of his phone call and put this out on the radio. So that's the type of manipulation that's going on with the information being passed back even to Ireland at the moment.
Wow. Okay. So we're getting a... Yeah. Are they trying to, what, make it more exciting or something? Make it more...
You tell me. You're working in the industry. I have no idea, but I'd imagine, yes, they're probably trying to instill some fear into people or make it more exciting for an article or a news headline. But I know he was on a call for 5 or 6 minutes with a radio channel.
You needn't tell me what radio channel. Yeah.
No, I won't. That's why I didn't name. But,
okay.
Yeah, he spoke for 5 or 6 minutes, and the worst parts of that phone call were clipped up and posted then to make it seem a lot worse than it was.
Yeah, very interesting. One of our listeners is not all that concerned about the war, but wants to know: is it true you don't pay any tax out in Dubai? So, do you want to answer that? Do you want to answer that for me, Liam?
Yeah, I can do, of course. Yeah, there's no personal tax, no capital gains tax, no tax on your rental income. Wow. There is a corporate tax, but only when you earn above 400,000 dirhams. So for a company, and it's around 9%. So it's not even that much, to be honest.
That's just incredible. Are you going to stay, or have you given yourself a period of time out there and you'll come home? What's the plan?
Yeah, my plan is to stay here long term anyway, at least for the next 10 years, and continue to build what I'm building now. Like, from a standpoint of lifestyle and business opportunities, in my opinion, there's no better place to be,
Yeah, well, I was there a couple of times, Liam, and it's one of the few places I'd say I could live. The lifestyle out there is fantastic.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah. Now, in fairness, as an Irish man in the summer with the heat, it is a little bit difficult, but
yes.
the goal is work hard enough during the year that you can leave for a month during the summer when it gets a little bit too hot. That's what most of the people here do anyway.
That sounds good indeed. Look after yourself in the meantime, Liam, and thanks for your time.
I will, of course.
Thank you.
No
Bye-bye.
problem at all. Thanks for having me on.
That's Liam Murray there, who's an Irish investment advisor in Dubai. We'll take a break, back in just a moment.
Tipp FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Join the conversation in Tipperary. Contact us through Facebook, Twitter, or email tiptoday@tippfm.com.
Now, I'm glad to be joined in the studio by Drug Education Officer with the HSE, John Leahy, who's with me. Good morning to you, John.
Good morning, Frank, and to all your listeners, and thanks for having me once again.
You're always very, very welcome here indeed. You're going to talk to us about something that we've been discussing on the programme over the last while, in fact, which is vaping and who's using it and what's in them and all of that. Are you concerned about vaping, John?
Very much so, Fran, because I suppose that the product is very addictive. It's coloured, it's flavoured. We do know a lot of young people are vaping, and we do know in general that vaping was brought in to stop people from smoking, but I suppose a few years down the line now we're realising, and we're seeing it from a public health point of view, that it's starting young people to vape, and across the, I suppose, population in adults, they say about 8% of people use, 5% daily, 3% are using it occasionally, 13% of people have tried it. And I'd often imagine that people would try vaping when they're out on a night out. You know, they may not even want to vape, but they're with friends, friend has a vape, and then they're sure, I'll try that and I'll see, and that happen. But the biggest thing is the highest percentage of young people is between 15 and 24, and there's 17% of that age group.
Wow.
And I see it, friend, I suppose, if I'm out myself, and I see it again among sports people, among other different types of people who are, you know, involved. They're thinking it's okay to vape, and I often, there's a video that I often watch online, like, and you know, the consultant, his American consultant, talks about vaping, and his big message: we've only one set of lungs.
Yeah.
You know, mind them. That's his thing.
And what is the danger of these things? What's in them, or do we know?
Well, we do know, and I think we don't know enough, Fran, and I keep going back. When you look at the I suppose the Health Research Board fact sheet, and also the HSE Healthy Ireland and You Can Quit info booklet, like, what's in them? We do need to educate our young people more and more about them, and as adults and as parents and concerned persons, I suppose there's always a responsibility on us to have the proper information, because what I hear back from parents at times, sure, it's better than smoking, it'd be better than smoking cannabis. Now, but we're missing the point. It's not whether any drug is better, one is better than the other to use. We have to look at it from the point of view, an education point of view, that their health effects, their public health effects. I mean, if we look at the VS, what's in it? They're volatile organic compounds, human-made chemicals that are used to produce manufacture of pharmaceuticals, but they're taken in tablet form. That we're putting these particles into our lungs. We're forgetting that. The other side then, there's heavy metals in there, nickel, tin, lead. Now, I would often say, we wouldn't take those products on their own into our lungs. Like, we wouldn't eat them, we wouldn't swallow them, because we know they would be bad for. But there's some acceptability in life now that we have them in these products. And what has happened then, we have flavouring in it. Diacetyl, like, is linked to serious lung disease. You know, that's in it. We're putting that stuff into our lungs. Cancer-causing chemicals, ultrafine particles. So when you add up all them and put flavour, and these products have been flavoured. And, you know, they're probably nice to take, you know, they're easy on it, and that's the addictive. And we do know this with the vaping, and, you know, that it is training the mind to be addictive. And
is it addictive in itself, though, John?
In itself, I suppose with those products, they're not addictive, but we have to remember that we have the most addictive chemical in anime, which is nicotine. And nicotine is addictive. And
we forget that.
We forget that. Yeah. And we also know with nicotine, like, that's what's in them. But if we look at nicotine, like, nicotine affects our mental health, friend, and we take it as okay, and we look at smoking. Like, you talk to anybody, like, I never smoked, I never vaped, but you talk to people, and I'd ask them, you know, but they find the nicotine so hard to give up. These products are the same, they're a different form of putting nicotine into your system, and they're flavoured and the whole lot. And people who do smoke, like, it's such an effort, and the effort is because the body is craving the substance of nicotine, and vaping have nicotine in them, and I think that message is missed somewhere along the line.
And speaking of the message, John, I mean, how do you get through? Let's stick with the younger people for a moment, because this has become a fashion accessory as well as everything else, hasn't it? The colour of these things. And
we do know. I suppose if we look at talk about the word antidotal, we know that if you come back, that young girls in particular are using them as a fashion item. If they're if they're wearing a yellow dress or an orange dress or whatever colour dress, they're buying
to match it up with
with a vape. And if you look at the makings of a vape and what they look like they're very secretive. They're very hard to, and I know schools have a problem with them, because how do you get somebody vaping? Because these are like, I would know, talking to teachers when they came out first, some teachers thought that the young people are carrying highlighters in their hands. To try, and this is what I suppose, if you go into the line of addictive behaviour, addiction and all that, it loves secrecy, it loves isolation. These products, you could say, are nearly, encouraging that, because very hard to see, and even now I'd be in a pub sometimes, I might be having lunch, and you'd see someone vaping in there, and they're kind of nearly hiding vaping. You can't see the vape. It's not like a cigarette, and that's all. If we look at it from a behavioural point of view in addiction, that's training the mind to be addictive as well,
to be secretive,
and that, and why do you have to hide something? If you have to hide something, there's something wrong.
No, I have to say, a couple of people did get on to us when we were discussing it in the past, John, and say, yeah, that's all fine, but it did help me to get off the cigarettes. Does that hold anything for you?
Oh, definitely does, and I'd love to know the age of those people, Fran.
I can tell you, they were older people.
Yeah. Now, and that is 100%, total agree with that point of view, that they help people at an older age. But the younger age, and if you look at it, nearly 17% of young people are vaping, and they're starting on vapes. It's encouraging them to vape, and that is the point that we need to realise. Like, we don't hear young people coming back to us saying, well, I'm smoking vapes because I want to give up cigarettes. It's actually...
Yeah, they go straight to vaping.
They go straight to vaping, and the other side of all that, Fran, we're not talking enough about the side effects of these products, you know what I mean? And nausea, diarrhea, rapid pulse. Nicotine is a stimulant drug. We must remember that. So it's increasing the heart rate. We look at fainting, anxiety, vomiting, dizziness, headaches. They're all associated with vaping as well, but we don't hear and we don't talk enough about it.
You combine this with something else which I know is of great concern to you, the drinks that are full of caffeine, the combination then, I guess.
And again, it goes back to that point, it's a nicotine, it's a stimulant. And if we talk about stimulant category, drugs, we have the caffeine drinks in there, we have cocaine in there, so it's racing the heart, basically. It's pumping the heart. Now, if you put that in with alcohol, which is a depressant, it's slowered down your heart rate. Now, I'm often saying, I'd say that I know medical profession, but if you just look at it logically and look at practically with those two types of drugs, a stimulant and a depressant drug, that one slows down the heart, the other speeds it up. If you're taking those drugs regularly, you're putting your heart under stress. Now, you might have no issue with your heart, but I wonder in years to come, friend, will there be somebody sitting here in 20 years' time saying this stuff, that now we have evidence out there that because of people's overindulgent in stimulants and in kind of alcohol, depressant drugs, that the heart is becoming weaker at a younger age.
Because as you're alluding to there, we don't know the long-term effect.
Yeah,
sure we don't.
We don't on the vaping, we don't. But what I'd be saying, if we go back to what's in them, Fran, and I'll make this point, we have metals, we have other substance compounds that are taken in other medication, we have products that are linked to cancer, we have fine kind of little particles of whatever other type of substance. If you're putting them into your lungs, we don't need too much long-term evidence to show
Right.
that these can't
be good for you.
Can't be good for you. And we do know with nicotine already, the effects of nicotine that's out there, that's in the product. So we're looking at it from a mental health point of view, from a stimulant point of view, and what that drug does to you. And, you know, again, with vapes, we have to look at the environment as well.
Of course, yeah. Alternatives then,
Yeah, and just before that, I must actually say this, friend, I say this to parents, maybe listening or concerned persons, who have young people smoking vapes and taking the vape. If they're on the disposable vapes, I often say, like, it's the lesser of the two evil, but I often say there's a red flag around if we have to mention this as well in the point of view of there is the refillable vape. So now we have a cannabinoid, a synthetic cannabinoid that's in those products that young people are starting to take as well, and they take it in the refillable vaping products. So I often say for parents, keep an eye out if your son or daughter is moving from a disposable to a refillable. Are they starting to take this product which is called HHC, which is a cannabinoid, which is a synthetic cannabinoid, which is way stronger than the ordinary cannabis we can buy on the street, let's say from a weed or pot or whatever word you want to use, that's smoked. And that's a concern. So I would often, if I'm working with parents, and I'm not saying that's happening, but you know, go source it in that point of view, friend. And
so alternatives then?
Like just say, friend, the last weekend I suppose I've been at 2 events, because I suppose when I'm doing this talking about drugs and talking about alcohol, and now today we're talking about vaping, young people get a lot of blame for everything. There's always young people. Now we have to realise adults are addicted to these products as well. But I've been at 2 lovely events at the weekend. One was down in Carrick-on-Suir with Gail Sheridan. She organised it. It was it's to do with sober chat and sip evening, and we had a musician down there, John was his name, from Dungarvan, and his nephew played for 2 hours between 6 and 8 o'clock in the Keep restaurant or coffee shop down in Carrick-on-Suir. It was a lovely evening. I had played music. We had, you know, the coffee shop was full. People enjoyed it. It was great reviews back after. We have to do this again. And the idea of it, and Gail came up with it, that, you know, it was an alternative to going out to the pub or going to, you know, for even a meal, or that this was coffee evening, have a chat, and people chatted. They sat together. You could see couples coming in and it was a lovely, and the music was lovely. It was just nice music for the environment. It wasn't heavy stuff. It was really relaxing, not too loud. And we have to encourage more, I suppose, alternative events. And the other night, I have to say, I was at probably the best musical I saw in my time. I'm no expert on it, but Hadestown was on, and it was held by the Bellevue Academy. And, you know, to see the show was amazing. The whole performances individually and collectively by every one of the youngsters. You know, I think they're between 13 and 18 or 17 years of age. And Lisa Kelly is the director of it. And like to see that performance. But the thing that I would get from a message point of view, that we do know young people who go down the road of taking different substances, friend. You know, they're lacking in low self-esteem. They're lacking in confidence. They're not outgoing. They're isolating a bit. There's a lot of anxiety and fear. But to see those young people and, you know, performing at the level they perform, and I have no doubt looking at it, like, you know, you probably wouldn't see it in the West End what I saw Saturday night, and anybody probably saw the show, because I saw the other reviews. It was absolutely fabulous. And what I'd be saying, like, you know, I've sat beside the grandparent of one of the leads, and she was so proud, the grandparent and the parents, and you know, and it's great to see it. And I see those young people, they have a great chance in life. They're involved in some interest of theirs and hobbies of those. And I often say, if you can get young people more involved in the likes of the musicals, in the likes of sport, in the like of whatever they are interested in, and to see their confidence on stage of the night, and they're singing at full belt, friend, and looking out onto the stage, their eyes are not down, they're giving it their all, and the enjoyment they give so many people, I suppose, over the week was just incredible. And like, here's an alternative, and I'd be saying this to parents: how do we get young people off drugs and that point of view? Get them involved in something they're interested in, and that was in abundance on Saturday night to me watching that show.
Isn't it great to see it?
Yeah.
And I suppose sport would play the same role.
Sport plays the very same role, and any, you know, and I'd say, and I often say that because often, I suppose, when I'm often doing talks, I can kind of look at how sport, you know, for me was brilliant. It kept me on some bit on the straight and narrow, friend, down along the years. But it was a go-to, it was a hobby, it was an interest, and we have to find our own interest, whatever that is. And I say that to parents, and how to stop them going down the road of taking substances of any sort is see what they're interested in, because it mightn't be sport for somebody else, but it could be music, it could be gymnastics, it could be horse racing, it could be basketball, it could be soccer. There's so much out there, and and often there's nothing to do around the town, there's nothing to do, there's plenty. Go look for it, get your young person involved themselves, ask them what would they like to do. And I often say this to people, I suppose, coming out of having problematic drug use. I talk to a lot of people, I suppose, in my daily and my job and out that, and they can find it very boring and can be lonely. Recovery and coming from looking at your drink issue, your gambling issue, your drug issue, and when you change your total lifestyle, and when you do that, you lose a lot of so-called friends, your environment change, and you can be on your own for a while unless you find different people and find people similar. And often I made suggestions to people, why don't you take up maybe trying to play the guitar? Oh, I don't like it. Well, did you ever try it? No, I didn't. Well, go try it, and you might like it.
Yeah, because they're left with a void, aren't they?
Huge void, Fran. And I think to fill that void, and it's up to you. That's where responsibility of somebody's recovery, if you go down that line in the context that, right, there's a lot of services out there, there's treatment centres out there, there's community-based drugs workers out there, there's youth reach workers out there. But ultimately, it's your responsibility to find what's of interest to you. Those people will all help you and they'll guide you in the proper direction, but you have to take ownership of it. And there's loneliness there. That's part and parcel, I suppose, of doing something for years, drinking, drug use, and then all of a sudden that's taken out of your life. Well, there's a void, as you said. What do we do? Go find something. Because there's great freedom in it, and when you find something that you like doing, and I've said this myself, having hurled and going back hurling, there was a great freedom getting out there onto that pitch, and that's for everybody.
And I'd love to know, John, from your perspective and your experience, is there such a thing as an addictive personality? Are some people more prone to addiction? I mean, and even if they give up one thing, do they choose something else?
Yeah, a great question, Fran. Yeah, you're right. They do. They can, if they don't look at their own self in that point of view. And we would see it, the addiction personality. Often I say, does it kind of contribute to somebody becoming addicted to different stuff? If you sit down and, you open a bag of sweets, or you open a packet of biscuits and you eat them all, is that addicted personality? Probably is. You're probably...
Am I looking embarrassed here?
Yeah. No, it's probably a healthier one, but I think those young people, if they're little signs that maybe you're addictive, you have to look at that, because often I say to people, when we look at people becoming addictive, it's not just the substance or the drug or the biscuit or the sweet or the drink or the gamble. There's more going on for that person individually, and personally we all have different traits as people, and we must remember that. So your personality plays its part, the drug of choice plays its part, and again also then the environment you keep, the people that you hang around with. And they're the three factors. And you have to keep, I suppose, young people, and I'll be saying this from a parent point of view, if you notice your young person going down the line of, maybe they're getting into the wrong crowd, well, you, as a parent, have some bit of responsibility. Maybe try and shift them out of that crowd. Don't allow them stay overnight. Don't allow them, lay down the boundaries, because, again, I go back to the point with substance use and problematic. There's no boundaries in place. The youngsters, that's everyone is doing it. And I would say this to parents as well in that point. Everyone is not using drugs. Everyone is not vaping. Everyone is not drinking. And I see the other night with the show again, them youngsters, I have no doubt, they all have a common interest. They're all buzzing off of each other. I have to imagine, every night those young people got a great sense of achievement, of self-esteem, of confidence. Looking at their parents, they were all very proud. Grandparents, there's a buzz on it, and you can find it naturally.
Yeah.
And the addictive thing, we have to be careful with it, Fran, because yes, and I see it when somebody gives up drink, often what can be common, they might take up gambling, or they might be dabbling a bit in weed, smoke, and that might take off more. And now all of a sudden they have their drink issue addressed, they're not drinking anymore, but then also you have the gambling, also you have maybe smoke and weed. work can be one, training can be addictive as any of the rest of them. So it's trying to find a balance. When you read up and talk to people about it, it's finding the balance and keeping it. Yeah. And that's
where the talks are concerned, John, is there a danger that if you set up a talk, you're largely preaching to the converted, and maybe the people who ideally you should be talking to probably won't be there?
Yeah. That's a fair point, because I have been part of that, and you go and the people that do it. But I also have been in talks, friend, with one of the schools now in the county I went to, and we used to do I used to kind of do parents' evenings, but I found that people have a lot more to be doing than going to talks, and if it's not of interest you may not go, and if it is of interest you mightn't want to go. But we done a morning parents talk in one of the schools in South Tipperary there. It's at the beginning of the school term last year, and it was fair interesting because we had about 15 parents, and it was of a huge benefit of them, because they're not realising they're obviously there for a reason, the 15 parents, but and when they started talking, their youngsters, some of them were vaping, some had concerns that they were taking cannabis. Drink was a huge issue with the parents, and we gave them information, and it was a kind of an eye-opener for them, and I do think it was a great way, because what I found was they'll be dropping their kids to school, so they're around anyway in the morning. They probably are not to do this. We done the schools morning, but what came up that morning was mobile phones, and the teacher that was involved in it had asked the parents, where do you think is the most dangerous place your son or daughter can be? Now, interesting question. And so a bit of discussion, down the town, not being supervised out on the street, or, not knowing where they are, all that kind of. Yeah. Next she said, no, she said, in their bedroom with their mobile phone.
It's a great point.
It was a massive point, friend. And not one of the parents were taking the phone off the youngster. And we do know with phones, we're all guilty of it. It's in our hand constantly. Yeah. It's constantly there. And, it's addictive as well. It's trained us all to be addictive. And, and that is the society we're living in. And it's hard out there. I think when the youngster goes down the road, it's hard on parents. We do need indeed. Support. And to say this, I do, and I would say this, and I say this with people who have an alcohol or a drug problem themselves, and for parents who are living with it, I'm not so sure you can beat it on your own. You need help, you need support, you need to ask somebody, you need to open it up, because, often people think this is the norm, and I would have often said this in time, what becomes abnormal to the people on the outside, if you're living it, that becomes the norm, and you think it's okay, and to break that unnormality basically is you need to talk about it.
You need help. And speaking of which, John, what about supports? Because I'm just looking at that marvellous piece from the HSE on information for parents and guardians about vaping and about e-cigarettes and all. So these supports are available.
These supports are available, and I said go talk to them, and there is a help and support line there, and it's www.quit.ie, and there's stop smoking clinics around the country basically. And what I'm saying, you're looking at one in your own area and that, and what I'm saying, it's go and find out. Often I find we don't need to find the right agency or the right support at the right time, but these people, they will guide you to where the best is. Yes. And in that point of view, and there's a free phone line of 1-800-201-203 for the likes of the vaping and the smoking. And again, I'd say with our own service, the HSE Substance Misuse Service, the phone number there, 052 6177 900.
Okay, so 6177 900. John, it's always good to see you. Thanks very much for coming in.
Thanks very much, friend.
We'll take a break. We're heading towards news at 11.
Tipp FM's Tipp Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Tipp FM's Tipp Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. Main Peugeot dealers in the Premier County. And now stocking the full range of the luxury French car brand DS Automobiles. Book your test drive today with Slattery's Garage, puck on. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Well, the search for Ireland's next country music star, Glór Tíre, season 22, is in full swing on TG Cahir, having reached the semi-final stage. Now, the contestants who have made it to the semi-final, Darcy Walsh, Megan O'Hara, Paddy Coffey, Jordan McPolan, and Tipperary's Dee Morrissey, who joins me now. Good morning to you, Dee.
Good morning, Fran. How are you?
I'm well indeed, and many congratulations to you for getting this far. It's fantastic. It's tomorrow night then the semi-final will air, I think, Dee, is it?
That's right. The semi-final is going out live tomorrow night on Tina G at 9:30. So I'm hoping everybody's going to tune in. And even more important, Fran, I'm canvassing today to get all the last-minute votes in to try help me get into the final.
Right, because you need all the support of Tipperary for this, don't you?
Yeah, I'm the only Tipperary contestant in it, and it's a very tough competition, but I would love the support. I'm getting wonderful support, Fran, from all over the county and indeed all over Ireland. But I just want a last-minute push to people. Please go in and download the Glortira app on your phone. Once you go in and register, you get 5 free votes, so it won't cost you anything, and I'd love you to give them all to me.
It's been a roller coaster for you, Dee, because I've been following what you're doing on social media, hasn't it? I mean, you've been flat out for the last few weeks.
It is absolutely flat out, and as you can probably hear, I'm even a little bit hoarse.
Yes.
Non-stop singing, non-stop talking to people, but it's absolutely wonderful. I mean, it's such an amazing platform, you know, to be a country singer, to get your name out there. Every country music fan, you know, in Ireland is watching this show, you know, every Tuesday night. So it's wonderful, but it's an absolute whirlwind, as you said.
Yeah. What are you hoping for out of it, Dee?
Well, again, I suppose, look, it just means it's kind of bringing your name and your music out there to a wider audience, you know, and again, I'd be hoping, you know, a lot more maybe kind of country gigs coming out of it and concert appearances, and already the phone is ringing, you know, it's a wonderful platform.
And it's very important to point out, it's probably the only proper platform for country music on any of the main providers, I suppose, Dee.
That's right, because country music, we'll say a lot of the smaller radio stations are wonderful to play country music. The national ones, not so much. You know, so really it's the only platform out there, I suppose, for anybody kind of in the country music scene if you're starting off. And as I said, everybody, all the people who love country music and who go dancing every weekend, they all follow this show. So everybody who's into country music is glued to this now every Tuesday night at the moment, and they're all voting for their
because people who are not into country music, they mightn't realise this thing is huge. I mean, it really is huge.
Oh, it's huge. So they say there's about 100,000, I think, watching it, we'll say live, you know, at home every Tuesday. And then you can go in and watch any of the shows on the TG4 player as well. People are watching it on their phones, they're watching it on their tablets. So it really is a huge platform.
What is it like, Dee, the behind-the-scenes aspect of this, and you working with the other candidates and that? What is that like?
Well, look, it's great fun, but they're very long days up there. So, for example, tomorrow I'll be leaving Banshee tomorrow before 7 in the morning. And the wonderful Molly O'Connell has volunteered to be my driver up and down for all the shows. She's wonderful. So we'll be heading up. I have to be in the studios tomorrow for 12:30. It's a very long day. There's rehearsals, and then you've dress rehearsals, and you've hair and makeup, and there's interviews and photographs. So it's a long day, but the day flies because you're having such fun. And all the other contestants and everybody up there is so lovely. So we've the time of our lives. And then when the live show starts, I mean, the atmosphere up there is unbelievable in the studio.
And of course, you have buses coming up as well. I saw one bus leaving last time round. I said, I'd like to be on that bus. It looked like great crack.
We've 2 buses going now tomorrow night. I'm getting great support. And, you know, I have the most wonderful supporters out there. And I have to give a very special mention to Katrina, my campaign manager. She's unbelievable, and she's rallied all the troops, and you know, and it's wonderful when you're up there singing and you've this huge crowd there and they're all cheering you on. You know, it really drives you on. The support is wonderful.
I'm sure it did indeed. And what a night you had in Care recently. That was a great concert, wasn't it?
Yeah, we said we'd have a Glortira launch night, and again, it was incredible. An awful lot of my friends that I'd known the country music business for many years, they all came down to sing for me, so it was very special. And all my friends, all my family, my supporters were all there. And, you know, it's making memories, Fran, that I'll never forget. That's the thing with Glortira. And to be honest, Fran, it doesn't matter. You know, if I don't get any further in the competition, winning isn't important. But just to see all the love and the support that's out there, you know, and memories that I'll have for the rest of my life.
Yeah, it was lovely to see all the artists coming out to support you as well and do pieces of video.
Yeah, I've been very, very lucky. I mean, there's videos that are flying into my phone I suppose I'd know an awful lot of the singers going back years.
Yeah.
A lot of people mightn't realise I did the door in the Glen Eagle for many, many years for the country shows.
Of course,
So I know so many people and so many of, the singers and the bands and, and all the wonderful people that come into the shows and the dances as well. So it's just lovely to see so much support out there,
What about choosing the songs, Dee? Is that your choice?
Yeah, so that's my choice. And Patrick Deeney is my mentor this year.
Yeah.
And for the first round, I had to sing a duet with him. And I assumed Patrick would say we're going to sing this. But no, he said, what would you like to sing, Dee? He's very good. But I just decided, Fran, I'm going to sing the songs that I sing at my gigs, week in, week out. Because there's no point in trying to go off and learn some new kind of fancy song. I'm going to sing what I do all the time. That's who I am. They're the songs I sing. And, of course, a load of those songs are all about Tipperary because Tipperary has got the best songs.
Well, there's no doubt whatsoever about that. Do you know, you're dead right about that. And, it's something I often say when I'm talking to Muriel about doing slots on concert. You're better off to do something that you're really comfortable with, then you can go out and enjoy it.
Well, that's it. And again, those songs show who I am. If you come to me at a gig, they're the songs you're going to hear when you come to hear me at a gig. So I kind of decided I'd go with that. And you don't have the stress then about trying to, oh God, this new fancy song, will I remember the words? And, I'm picking the songs that I know inside out and the ones that I love as well. And I love singing them.
What happens tomorrow night then? I presume some people will not come through the semi-final then.
So there's 5 of us singing tomorrow night in the semi-final. And what happens is the top 2 on the public vote go straight through then to the final. And I think the judges then pick out of the remaining 3.
Okay.
So 3 will go forward then to the final the following Tuesday night.
Very good. Would you be petrified about it, Dee?
No, it's funny. People keep saying to me, are you nervous?
Yeah.
It's funny. I don't get nervous at all. Molly was laughing at me because I said to Molly, the stage, the camera, the audience, all that doesn't bother me in the slightest. Now, if I had to drive up through Galway City in the morning, my nerves would be at me. I'm not the best driver in the world. I get there, but I'm not wonderful. So, but no, the camera and the stage and the audience look like a lot of performers, and like yourself, Fran, we tend to come alive when we're on stage and when the audience are there and they're all with you,
Well, we're all with you, and we wish you the very, very best of luck tomorrow night. Just remind people again how they can vote and what is a little bit complex, Dee. So it is a little bit
complicated. So you can only vote on the Glortira app, which you must download to your phone. So if you go into your Play Store or your App Store, if you have an iPhone, you can download the Glortira app and it'll just ask for your email address. Now, they're not doing anything with it. It only takes 2 minutes. Once you give the email address, they'll give you 5 free votes. And again, click, up the button 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Give them all to Dee Morrissey, please.
Right, and you're the only Tipperary representative, so it's very important that Tipperary would support you.
I'm the only Tipperary candidate, so we're doing it for the county, Fran. Doing it for the county.
That's and no better woman either. Dee, we wish you the very, very best of luck, and thank you for coming on with us this morning. Thank you
so much, Fran, for having me, and a good morning to all your listeners.
Thank you. Good morning to you. That's Dee Morrissey. Tomorrow night, Lord Tier. It's very important that Tipperary would support her, and I'm sure she's going to do extremely well indeed. We'll take a break. Back with more in just a moment.
If it matters to you, it matters to us. Call Tipp today on 1-800-938-007. Tipp FM's Tipp Today.
With Slattery's Garage Puck-On. Now is the time to pick up your next van. From the award-winning Peugeot Partner van to the expert and the load-lugging Boxer van. We have big vans, high-roof vans, long-wheelbase vans. You'll find them all at Slattery's Garage Puck-On. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Tipp FM's Tipp Today.
With Slattery's Garage Puck-On. Over half a century driving the people of Tipperary and surrounding areas with quality, reliable and economical vehicles, new and used. Call the sales team today to discuss your next car or van on 067 24 111.
Carabina Mahagut Paul, and welcome back to the final hour of Tipp Today. 1800 938 007. That's our free phone number, and you can text and WhatsApp 083 311 3311. Of course, you can email at any time, and that's tipptoday@tippfm.com. Now, next Sunday, March the 8th, country music star Michael English will take to the stage at the Talbot Hotel in Clonmel for a very special concert indeed, with a guest appearance by Jerry Guthrie. I'm delighted to say Michael joins me now. Good morning, Michael.
Good morning, Fran.
Good to talk to you. Good to talk to you as well. And we talk music in just a little while. But Michael, what about the health? Because a couple of weeks ago you got a bit of a scare.
I did, yeah, and I'm good now again, Fran. But yeah, about 3 weeks ago, on the way to a concert in Waterford, in Cappoquin, I had a mild heart attack. Would you believe? But I'm good again. I mean, I know that sounds quick, but the doctors gave me the go ahead to go again after a brief stay in hospital. So it was a wake up call, Fran. And I suppose, while I'm not going to slow down or slacken off too much, I'll have a better balance. Is the advice? In other words, when I'm off, I should be off. You know, I'm the type of person that probably eats, drinks, and sleeps music. And if I was working 6 shows a week, on the 7th day I'd be in the studio or something. So it's good to have a me day, and it's good to. That's why I spoke about it, really, to be honest with you.
Of course,
for other people.
What surprised most of us, Michael, was that, you're a fit guy, you look like you look after yourself and all of that, but of course stress takes its toll, I suppose, no matter what.
Well, I suppose, yeah, and anybody that knows me probably would think I'm not really a stressful kind of person, but you can have such a thing as good stress. The doctors told me that as well, which bad stress and worry and all that kind of thing is an awful thing, and I don't suffer from that, thankfully, really. But good stress is on the go all the time, and not taking time out for yourself, whether it would be a walk or a swim or reading or the cinema or something like that. As I said, it was music all the way with me, and still will be to a certain extent. Like performing, won't slacken off or anything like that. But it's good to have a balance and have a day off every now and then. Yeah,
that's for certain. There was an outpouring, though, of support and help, particularly from your colleagues in the music business, Michael. Was there not?
Ash, there was. I mean, we're so lucky. You know yourself, Fran, we're so lucky to be in a business that many people often refer to as a family, and that's what it is. And I know I have my own family at home who are hugely supportive in everything I do. But when something happens to any of us in the music business, and when the chips are down, the troops rally around them, and that was very evident all through my career. When my mother passed away, and my nephew, and now again, I got so many calls and visits, and from everybody in the business, really, and it is a great business to be in, and I've don't have any enemies in the business. I've only friends, and it's fantastic.
And I presume since you came back, then I guess everybody's inquiring after you, and that's
sure they are. And that's only nice too. I mean, we're lucky in our business, Fran, that people come to see us and travel long distances, and a lot of people come. Every night. I mean, I was in Adair the last 2 nights, and I'd say 30% to 40% of the people were there both nights, and that's not unusual.
It's incredible, yeah.
Well, wherever we are, so people are great.
Incredible, and it's been such a roller coaster of success, Michael. I mean, the dances, the concerts, the TV appearances. I mean, it's been a real roller coaster for you, hasn't it, the last few years?
Actually, I'm very lucky, I am. But it's a team effort, and I have a great band, and great people and great musicians. And I mean, when you mentioned, I do I've kind of 4 different shows at the dances, the theatres, the festivals, and the churches, which are very popular now at the minute. And they're 4 completely different shows, and so I'm very lucky I have a great band and a great team, and I have a great Tipperary man managing me now.
It's a great Brian Buckley,
guy, Brian Buckley, and he's a great guy, and he's young and energetic, and he's, modern ways with the internet and Instagram and Facebook and all of these things. he's a wizard on them, and he's a great person as well. So, yeah, it is going really well, and for a lot of people in the business, it's going really well. The music business is in a really good place. The amount of young people that are coming out nowadays, Fran, is unbelievable. Really, I never thought I would see it. It started in the north of Ireland, I suppose, and then trickled down through the whole country. It's
And we were talking to Dee Morrissey earlier on as well about Clonmel and the importance of that as a platform for young artists as well. It's great to see, and a huge viewership for that, Michael, as well. You know.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm involved in it myself this year.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I have 2 contestants, and Megan is still in the competition. A lovely girl and a great singer, and so is Dee. Of course, Dee comes from a music royalty, I suppose, a great family of music, and we mentioned family earlier on, and I met Dee many times, and I met her in Clonmel as well, and she's a lovely girl, lovely person, and I want to obviously wish her the best of luck. I know a lot of people all over the country, but especially in Tipperary, will be wishing Dee luck. But Clonmel is it's a fantastic platform. You know, I mean, it you know, it's television. It's on every week for a couple of weeks. And the one thing I'd say about it is, while it's a great platform and a great competition, winning Clonmel is a huge bonus. But taking part is very important.
Absolutely.
And great exposure. I mean, you know, while everybody wants to win, and I always say to this when I'm mentoring somebody, while, you know, of course, it would be lovely to win it, but if you think of all the other people, all of the people who didn't win it, and who made a great career out of the exposure that they got, sometimes, and I'm not taking away from the program, but sometimes over the years, many of the people who came second, third, and fourth did as well, if not better, than the winner. So, while it's nice to win it, we have to remember that
it's a great platform. You're one of my favourite of the performers, I have to say, Michael. Not only are you a great singer, but what I would look at naturally enough is somebody who can play as well, and you play piano beautifully, and you play the accordion and stuff as well. Has that been a great bonus for you over the years, the fact that you're almost self-sufficient to some degree, I suppose?
It has. I mean, the one thing, you know, I love to sing, I love to play, I love to perform, really. And I often think for somebody who doesn't play, sometimes it can be maybe a little bit frustrating when you're trying to explain to the band what sound or what notes or what arrangement that you want, and that's an advantage. It's something that I love. Obviously, I write a lot of the stuff that I sing. But yeah, I do. I love to play. I mean, when I started off, I went to the Royal Academy and thought I would. I suppose my aim back then was maybe to become a concert pianist. But I fell in love with Irish and country music and the people within it. We spoke about that earlier, and yeah, I still love to play. I practice every day, except the days that I'm off, now that I'm supposed to be off. But I do. I love to play, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's evident indeed. So tell me about Sunday night then. It's a concert, and I know Jerry Guthrie is your guest on the night. What can people expect, Michael?
Well, I suppose, you know, first and foremost, I love playing in Tipperary. I particularly love playing in Clonmel in the hotel because we've performed there now every year. We go back once a year, every year with our concert show. But there's something about that room, in the hotel. You know, there's this great atmosphere, and I from the moment you walk out. Every year, from the moment I walk out, the crowd are behind you. It's just a brilliant night. Obviously, every year we try to change the show. This year we have a brand new show again. Obviously, we'll be singing the songs that people know us for, but with new arrangements and new different parts of the show. Yeah, it's a really exciting night, and while it's a concert and people are sitting down, obviously by the end of the night they're up, and it's a great party ending. And of course, Jerry Guthrie is one of my great friends in the business. We worked together. We were working last night and together in Limerick, and he's a great guy. I love the fact that Jerry, you know, he has his own songs and he plays guitar. Is a bit like myself, I suppose, with my own songs and playing the piano. So it's a great marriage musically, and it genuinely is a great night. So looking forward to Clonmel, definitely.
And I know tickets can be had from the reception at 052. That's 6188 700. That's 052 6188 700. And from your own online address as well, Michael.
MichaelEnglish.ie, yeah, that's it, Fran, yeah.
All right, so reception again, that number there, 052 6188 700, and MichaelEnglish.ie as well. Well, I wish you the best where your health is concerned and with the music as well. Lovely to talk to you as always, Michael.
Thank you, Fran, and thanks for you're very good to us all in the business.
Thank you.
And thanks very, very much for having me.
Thanks, Michael. Good morning to you. That's the great Michael English there. That concert next Sunday night at the Talbot in Clonmel, 052 6188 700.
Tipp FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage Puck-On. Now is the time to pick up your next van. From the award-winning Peugeot Partner van to the Expert and the load-lugging Boxer van. We have big vans, high-roof vans, long wheelbase vans. You'll find them all at Slattery's Garage Puck-On. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Tipp FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage Puck-On. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Now, listen around to us to say good morning. Just listening to Michael English, I'd like to say I saw him in concert in Monaghan Hillview Hotel last week, not long after his health episode. I just want to say that he was super, and I wish him continued good health and success in his music career, says one of our listeners to us today. That's in on 083 311 3311. Now, Sustainable Swing, a small Irish-based business committed to promoting eco-conscious and sustainable alternatives in sport and leisure. It was formed as part of the Carrick-on-Suir Transition Year Enterprise Programme, and I'm delighted to be joined in the studio now by some of the Sustainable Swing team. That's Fionn Power, who's with us, Ronan Knox and Sam O'Keefe, and you're all welcome and thanks for coming in to us today. Fionn, can I start with you, because you have the lofty position of CEO of all of this.
I do.
Will you tell us about just a whole general understanding of the company?
So I'll say the company motto is "It's time for a greener game." So we're trying to eliminate all the waste packaging, I suppose, in golf and other sports.
Yeah.
So we find all our products ourselves. So we have our golf ball products. So we have premium deluxe. We find them ourselves, clean them and package them so they can be gifted to a person. Okay. They're not like just loose. They're packaged nicely, and then customers can buy them, and they're a nice gift. So the gist is we're after completing the school final. We're through to the county final on Friday, and then hopefully on Friday we'll win a place in the national final in Athlone on May 6th.
Well, it'll be fantastic altogether. And just give us a general understanding of the products then. So are the golf balls repurposed, or are they a particular kind of golf ball?
So the golf ball is reused.
Okay.
But studies have shown that the golf ball does not lose any distance whatsoever. Okay. They play like new, and they're at a greatly discounted price, so about 66% of the price compared to new ones. So if you were to look at top brand new ones, they could be about €60. We can sell them for €20, but they're still playing the exact same.
And what other golf stuff do you sell as well?
So we have golf gloves. They're quite essential for golfers. The hands can get worn off over time.
Yeah.
We have golf tees. You need them for hitting the drives. So once again, they're all sustainably packaged, and we use local suppliers. We don't use China. We don't use India. We have Wexford, Dublin, and Cork.
Right, fair play. And the initial idea, is it because you play golf? Or
I've been playing golf since I was no age. I'd say 3.
Go on. Right.
So that's where I got the idea. I seen all the waste that was being put into courses all across Ireland over the summer. So I told Ronan and Sam the idea back in September. Nate can't be here today, unfortunately, but I told the 3 of us the idea, or 4 of us, sorry, and we're all in agreement that we could tackle the issue as part of the Student Enterprise Programme.
Isn't it great altogether? And Sam, finance control and all of that sort of thing. So you're the money man, you're the bag man, so to speak. Yeah. So tell me about that particular role then.
Yeah, so it started back in September, and I mean, we saw that there was a great interest for our golf products in the school from our market research. So through our surveys, we made pricing lists for our golf balls, and there's been a great interest, really.
Well, fantastic. Okay, but I mean, is there a lot of responsibility on you if you're looking after the whole financial aspect of this?
Yeah, I mean, lot of stuff to keep track of, you know.
Yeah, and what about your own background? I mean, have you done financial stuff before? Is that a particular
this
interest?
Is a new experience for me. So.
Is it? Yeah. Okay, right. And the competition so far, has it been good? Has it been exciting? And
yeah, there's been there's many great businesses in our school. We were lucky to get through, I suppose, with all the great competitors. Cast and Catch is one great business, but
Cast and Catch, what is that about? Fishing or something, is it?
Yeah, fishing equipment, homemade.
Right. Great ideas, absolutely marvellous. And Ronan, you look after the brand and the PR and all of that, and you had the cheek to tell me you didn't want to say very much to us today, and you, the brand officer. Tell me about the brand and all of that.
Just putting stuff up on social media and all that.
Yeah. And what's the reaction on social media?
It's good, yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, have you a particular logo, for example? I mean, have you designed all of that? Is that part of this?
No, the logo was designed before I joined the company.
Was so you can't take credit for that?
I can't take credit for that. I joined a bit late.
Right. Okay. And why did you join? Did this idea appeal to you particularly?
No, I was in the other class.
Right. Okay.
And I did a different mini company, but that failed. And then Fiona asked me if I want to join theirs.
Very good. So you were poached to some degree, were you? Do you play golf?
No.
Sam, do you play golf?
No.
Right, so
that's me over
here. So Fionn is the golfer amongst us.
We'll add that in the first week, I'd say, or first weeks, I'd say I didn't think it was going to work at all. We got about 6 or 7 hours max. Like, I did not think it was going to work. Then come up to Christmas, we were seeing a huge increase in
great interest in,
like, brilliant interest coming up to Christmas.
Yeah.
So
they make great gifts.
Yeah, of course they do. Of course they do. So birthdays and all of that, people need to think about that out there too. What about the role of CEO, Fionn? I mean, I saw when you came in here, like the way you sort of took control of the thing and all of that. Is this a natural instinct for you?
I don't know. I suppose I just kind of like to have everything organised. Keep everything as organised as possible. So I've kind of, I suppose CEO is just making sure everything is working properly.
Yeah.
Finance is working with.
But it comes. I can see it comes easily to you.
Yeah, thanks very much. I suppose it's kind of natural instinct for me, to be honest, just keep everything working.
Good, yeah. So would you see yourself in the future as an entrepreneur? Is that what you would like to do?
I don't know, to be honest with you. I'd like to either go into being a pilot or...
Would you?
Yeah, that's something I'd like to go into now, to be honest with you.
That's very exciting as well. So if people want to buy the product, how can they do
So
that?
they can order online at sustainableswing.com. So if they put in the code TIPFM, they will get 20% off.
Very good.
So on the website, sustainableswing.com.
Yeah. And tell me about transition year, Sam, because, you know, there are people out there who always thought it was a bit of a DOS and was fellas like going out and sort of having a good time instead of studying. What do you make of transition year?
Well, yeah, it's been a good experience so far. This, for example, has been a new experience for me, learning different skills, such as this, like first time going on the radio talking, so learning skills in finance too, like managing budgets and stuff like that. So
and again, does that come naturally to you, do you think?
I suppose the finance part, that's I've always been good at that type of thing, but this this is a new experience for me, so I wouldn't say it comes as natural to me as it does to Fionn.
Yeah, and have you thought past secondary school and maybe college and so? Have you thought about what you'd like to do, or is it very early yet?
I haven't put too much thought to it yet. Maybe something in music, but
so you play music?
I play music, yeah.
Very good indeed, yeah. So what do you play?
I'm in a band called the Charcoal Greys. I play the drums.
Well done. And you write your own music?
We write our own music,
yeah. What about you, Ron? A transition year, has it been good? Or is it a real DOS?
Nah, it's not much of a DOS. It's good crack.
Is it? Yeah. You've enjoyed it so far?
Yeah, going on all the trips and stuff. It's good, yeah.
Yeah. Have you thought about after secondary school into college?
No, I didn't put much thought into it yet.
Did you not? No.
No.
You're too busy having a good time.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we wish you the very, very best indeed. So tell us then, Fionn, the county final.
So a county final is in the TUS Thurles campus on Friday, all day. We're hoping we'll get through to the national final in Athlone on May 6th.
Okay.
It'd be an amazing achievement if we could get through.
Right.
The only thing we can do now is prepare, as you say, fail to prepare to fail. So we're going to prepare the way out of it now.
You have all the jargon.
Thanks very much, man.
As well as everything. We were delighted to have you in. I'm hearing, Sam, that the Charcoal Greys have had huge success on social media recently.
Yeah.
Gigs coming up as well?
Gigs coming up. We're playing in the Workman's Club on this coming Wednesday.
Very good. All right. So music is a big thing for you.
Yeah.
Well, we wish you the very best where that is concerned.
Thanks very much.
Of course, Carrick-on-Suir is a great town for music, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been loads of great musicians coming out for the past.
That's for certain. Lovely to see you all. We'll be following your success, and thanks very much indeed to Fionn Power, to Ronan Knox, and to Sam O'Keefe. We'll take a break. We're back with more in just a moment.
Tipp FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
If it matters to you, it matters to us. Call Tipp today on 1800 938 007.
And you're very welcome back to Tipp Today. They were lovely young lads. They were pure dotes altogether, and we wish them the very, very best. Now, last week on the show, my good friend Joe Noble joined us to talk about style through the decades and the outfits that we'd love to forget. Well, a great friend to the show, Helen England, joins me now. Good morning to you, Helen.
Good morning, Fran. How are you today?
I'm well, Helen, but I'm looking forward to talking to you about this because there's so many outfits that we all wore back in the day. And what were we thinking half the time, you know?
Oh, Fran, I just don't know. Well, we weren't thinking, and maybe that was a refreshing thing. So we didn't think. We didn't care.
I know, Yeah.
Like I look at my daughters now and the time they put into everything, makeup, skincare, clothes, the whole lot. Sure, we had a clue. We all looked the same, male, female. It didn't matter. And not in a cool, androgynous way. It was just,
I know. But young lads back in the day, we didn't give a hoot. I mean, I never remember as a young lad talking about brands or anything like that. It's all changed so much, Helen.
But again, Fran, we weren't that far behind you.
Yeah.
Like, I remember wearing our Shane Stone Roses T-shirt out. Like a boy, it wasn't like, it was just a regular bog standard Stone Roses T-shirt. And so we were kind of interchangeable, all our clothes and stuff, a lot of us, And, so style or fashion, I put those in inverted commas when I talked about what we were as teens.
Some of the stuff you gave to Leanne certainly brought me paisley shirts forever.
Paisley shirts, lads. I had one. I remember our Michael had one as well. You see, interchangeable. Wasn't the same one, but mine was red. I bought it in Dublin. I was down in Dublin. We got a coach down. I can't remember, or maybe just got the bus down to Dublin. We just thought this was fantastic. So I wore that Paisley shirt a lot. I wore to threads. And and then we had these Batwing. Do you remember Batwing kind of sweaters?
I don't. I saw that down here. What were they, Helen?
So Batwing is when you raise your arms, it literally, there was fabric underneath, so it looked like it was kind of attached to the middle of your top.
Yes.
So it created what was called a Batwing. Fabulous. Now, not only was mine Batwing, mine was also, it's like a royal blue, Paisley as well. A black Paisley print. Stunning.
Stunning.
Oh, lads. Oh, my gosh. It was amazing.
And you know something you said there? You said we came down to Dublin and how exciting. Did you look to Dublin from the north as some sort of a fashion sort of platform?
Well, we were feral. We would have went anywhere. It just happened to be Dublin that time. Now, there were independent shops and kind of like grungy shops, that weren't part of the whole Cammy Girl, Etam, whatever. I don't think Topshop was there. Well, it wasn't a big thing at the time. Not Enniskillen, which the closest shopping town to me. But it was just something different, So down we went, and then Siobhan Ferguson, one of the girls, she knew where to go. So we just all followed Siobhan. I don't know how she knew it, but she knew it.
She was the popular girl, was she?
Well, she was the cool girl, and Siobhan's still wonderful. She's an artist now and a photographer. So she had that eye, and so we just kind of went where Siobhan went. It was great. We all went together. We made no bones about it.
What about
Siobhan showed us where to go.
What about the makeup, Helen?
Yeah, by the way, I have to say Doc Marten bubble toe shoes. They were oxblood was the colour, and we wore tartan laces just to really vamp it up. But anyway, so that was a big deal. And I do remember my friend's dad got out of prison, and he had been in for quite a long time. And we stuck our heads into the sitting room to say hello to him. And we were wearing our Doc Marten boots, probably the Stone Roses T-shirt and the jeans, and we off to Bundoran for the night. And he called his daughter back in, and he goes, "Why are you not wearing stilettos? Where's the heels? You can't go to a dance looking like that." But we did look. We could have been bringing out the bins. You know what I mean? Or bin men. You know, they would have probably were steel toes.
That was the thing at the time.
Yeah, but it's not great though. At least we weren't cold, and Bundoran was second freezing.
Always.
You know, at the best
and
of times.
raining. That's
but so at least we weren't cold. It's about the only thing I can say positive. Now, the makeup was, we were flat out. I was at class this morning. I do a strength training class, and I was saying to the girls there about this, and we were like, oh my God. So it was the same here as it was up in the north. Truffle eyeshadow. I think it was Rimmel. It was Rimmel. And Heather Shimmer was the lipstick. And then we were fantastic for a really good, lovely, dull, flat, pale foundation. And Siobhan, one of the girls in the class, was saying pan stick was the thing. She said that she actually ended up being allergic to it. I say it was overkill. But that was about it. There was really, maybe there was a nice smudged mascara on it.
Yeah.
But that was it. But there was no lashes. There was no way was there fake eyelashes. The only ones that wore fake eyelashes were very 80s vibe women in maybe New York and London. Nobody we knew, like. But
and what was truffle eyeshadow? What was that?
So truffle was the colour.
Oh, right, okay, right.
It was like a browny colour. Well, everything was brown, wasn't it? But yeah, so it was brown as well. The mascara was dark brown. Oh, God.
Oh Lord.
And then the Body Shop Dewberry perfume. Now, that would knock down a healthy horse, you know, and we would be doused in it. And so it's Body Shop. So Dewberry, which I wore because it was stronger, or White Musk. And I remember going out with a guy called Keith, and it was for Christmas. I was wearing, Exclamation was the other one. It was a black and white bottle. Yes. And then I bought him a bottle of Jazz aftershave, and he used to wear a black polo neck, and I thought he was so cool. He was from over the border, you see. The ones over the border, in inverted commas, that's Leitrim, Donegal.
Yes.
They had a different vibe again, you know, because like we used to say, no offence to anybody, but we used to go, she's a bit of an Orla from Galway, is she? If they wore tie-dye, that's what we called them.
An Orla.
The Leitrim one, what's that?
An Orla. Is that as
Orla.
in O-R-L-A?
Orla, the girl's name, O-R-L-A. She a bit of an Orla from Galway, and this sounds really... But because they were wearing tie-dye, we didn't wear tie-dye. But definitely in Leitrim, the Leitrim girls were a bit hipper and cooler.
Oh.
So their T-shirts would have been like the Ramones or something like that. Their brothers' Ramones T-shirts. And they might have worn a tartan shirt and stuff. But they were kind of cool, the Leitrim girls, I have to say. Just a wee holistic vibe.
What years are we talking about here, Helen?
Well, I'm 51. I'm 52 this year. So I'd say we're talking 1989, 1990.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, right.
So really, the 80s and 90s, neither decade known for its style.
And were the Levi's the big thing at that point?
Levi's to an extent, yeah. We couldn't really get our hands on them, but they were fierce dear. I remember they were like £60 or something, which was a fortune at the time. It was a fortune. I think Siobhan Ferguson had a pair of Levi's, you know. But no, not that many of us had them, to be honest.
And what about the hair? Did you color the hair?
We did Glintz, Glintz. If it ended in Z, it was cool. So Glintz was this semi-permanent hair color. So we all were like plum shades. Oh God, lads, how we ever? I don't know what was going on. Was it post-trauma or mid-trauma from the Troubles? I just don't know. And so we wore this, semi-permanent. So it'd be washed out in 4 days, in 4 washes, you know. So
and that would have been too early for fake tan and stuff, would it? There was none of that.
I remember Aran was the first one I saw wearing fake tan, and it was like trying to pour Bisto on her for her debs, for her formal, we call them. And so she was the first one, and I'd say that bottle of fake tan was in our house for 3 years. There was no tan. We were that lovely milky white.
And rightly so too. And the eyebrows? Yeah. What were the eyebrows?
Now the eyebrows were plucked to within an inch of their life.
Oh, were they at that time?
An inch would have been good. Millimetre. It would be like you put 2 wee strings on our eyes. Threads. Really, we were threaded to be Jesus. Well, it wasn't even thread. It was plucked. How I have eyebrows now, I'll never know. Well, I kind of do and I don't, because we all have we kind of tattoo our brows a bit as well. But yeah. So they were plucked to oblivion, I would say.
Yeah.
So really, I'm painting a fabulous picture, aren't I?
We can't wait to see the photographs and put them up on our social media platforms. Yeah.
So big.
What about the hair then? Was that scrunchy time and ponytails?
Oh, yeah, the Gruig was up then. The Gruig was lovely and curly with the plum colour and then a lovely scrunchie just to really give it that chef's kiss. And very little hairspray, and then Ronan Feely from home, he was a cure head into the cure. And
so he was a goth, was he?
Well, a cure head was less than a goth.
Yeah.
It wasn't as, but yeah, it was. Let's face it was. Himself and Nigel Duffy. So I think there was no hairspray left in Garrison because they used it all. And however they walk by and a flame, I'll never know, an open fire, But, because I remember Ronan used to go in and steal Ailish, his sister, or Breed's hairspray. But, we would have, and backcombed, I'm just getting flashbacks of backcombing. And I have big hair anyway, so I probably look like a mafia boss or, Guma, the girlfriend. Definitely not the wife. I'd be a bit more...
You're gonna have to send us the pictures. You really are going, because you paint such a wonderful picture.
My mum sent me photos a couple of years ago. And she was like, this will give the girls a good laugh. And actually, I was looking, going, how did we get the shift? The only saving grace, I suppose, is we all looked like that. So, it
was of its time. I mean,
it's of its time, all right, Frank.
In 30 years' time, I'm sure kids will look back and say, what were we doing?
God, it couldn't have been as bad as that, though. But when you look back to the 70s to me were so stylish. I remember Tom Ford did who was he with that he did his in 1995 the catwalk, and it was all inspired by, it was for Gucci, was it, by the 70s, and it's my favourite catwalk of all time because it's all that lovely kind of poochy print and silks with a little bit of a shoulder pad, but gorgeous, sexy.
And the bell bottoms, I suppose.
In the 70s.
Yeah.
What's that?
The bell bottoms, I suppose.
Well, that was that was horrendous as well. Actually, Fran, we were talking about me. Had you long hair?
Oh, I did.
Yeah, I could always spot the lads who had long hair.
Oh, I
did. You still have a bit of it in you. It's a bit of an edge,
Oh, so you want to see the state of me in some of the photographs?
Yeah, I think we might have to put up some photos of us all. Get everybody involved in this.
Is there anything that's happening nowadays that you think people will greatly regret in years to come, fashion-wise? I think the eyebrows, probably.
Well, yeah, some people's eyebrows, the ones that really lay it on, think it looks like a permanent marker, definitely. Like, I remember, this was quite a few years ago now, going down, I was doing work just down in Clonmel, and I met this girl, and she was absolutely beautiful, apart from the eyebrows. I actually thought that maybe she had fallen asleep, and during her sleep, someone had painted these big, crazy black brows on her, and that she wasn't aware. Because everything else was beautiful. Her style was gorgeous. I often think about her. I'm not joking. But these eyebrows looked mental,
The other big one for me is, and lads started doing it about 10 years ago, wearing tan shoes with dark suits. Oh, my God, that's my pet hate.
Fran, there's still a wee bit of that
Is
out
there? Oh, God, I hate that.
In Tyrone. I'm only joking. Well, a wee bit in Tyrone, I say. We always tease, and I have a few family members live in Tyrone, and we're like, look at you getting all Tyrone. But yeah, I think now you'd probably see a wee bit of that still.
Yeah.
I think. But I think for the likes of, I remember when we were getting married, and I was there, with Neil, thinking, God, is this going to date really badly? The suits and stuff. We just went into Jim Maloney's, it wasn't just, and McGee suits, they were lovely and stuff, but you wonder, will it date?
Yeah.
But I suppose it will. I think the best thing, by the way, for weddings is don't go too trendy, or else you're in trouble.
Absolutely. I agree with you completely, because that will age badly. You can be sure. Do you get a bit of crack out of it though? I mean, we say, oh God, what were we thinking? So, but it's good old crack.
It's hilarious, Fran. Like, it's so funny. And then Siobhan at the class today was saying about leg warmers. Leg warmers were brilliant, Yeah. Do you remember leg warmers?
I do. I remember. Well, you see, I was a big fan of Fame, yeah.
Yeah, you were, because you love Bruno and his Casio.
Oh, God.
And we all the girls loved, well, fancied Danny, but also loved Coco. And Coco
she was
always
great.
wore
Yeah.
leg warmers. She was.
What a
Beautiful.
singer and dancer. She was amazing, actually.
Oh, she was gorgeous. But she wore leg warmers. So this 5'2", I don't know what height I was there, with no legs, really. My leg warmers went to my knees up in Fermanagh, and I was doing no dancing. Maybe a bit of Irish dancing. It was beautiful. But so the leg warmers and stuff. Noting Keoghan, my neighbour and best friend, she always wore leg warmers, But and fingerless gloves, and just thinking, God almighty, what were we doing? So the fingerless gloves. But no part of our skin was exposed.
Right.
We really could have been climbing mountains nights we were going out to Bundoran, because no part of our skin was exposed. No wonder we didn't. So we didn't need fake tan.
Nobody could see
and
anything.
then we had the old Max Factor pan stick. What's that?
Nobody could see anything anyway, so you didn't need...
They were safe enough. They might get an old Fondy at the nightclub, but but that was about it. But nothing was exposed. It was all covered up.
That's great. Helen, lovely memories, and you really gave me a good old laugh this morning. Thank you so much for coming on with us, Helen.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brad.
Bye-bye to you now. That's great. That's from Helen. What about your memories of fashion of the past, and do you want to share with us? 083 311 3311. Now, I was talking to Councillor Maureen McGrath earlier on about parking. Donal was in touch and joins me now. Good morning to you, Donal.
Good morning, Fran, and good morning to your listeners.
And good to talk to you today, Donal. You can't understand why we can't have free parking all over the county.
It would make sense. I believe Roscommon Town adopted this particular strategy, I think it was the year before last, and it seems to be successful for them, because they were trying to do was attract footfall into the centre of towns. And it would make sense in the likes of, say, Nina, Thurles, Roscrea, and indeed Tipperary Town as well.
Yeah.
And because the idea is quite simple. You have free parking in the car parks for customers, and your potential income for the day or for the week. Now, the County Council might take pride in this particular idea, because they might be afraid they'd lose revenue.
Well, that's the thing, yeah.
But we'll come back to them on the rebound in the sense of extra business and extra annual rents, if you like, and rates, that kind of thing.
So long term, they'd do better. You see, what they're telling us is that without the revenue, they just couldn't sort of provide the services they provide, because they're not getting enough money from central coffers, Donal. So that's what they're telling us.
Yes, but the funny thing is, like, the central coffers are being most, shall we say, stringent in the allocation of resources, yet again, especially to provincial towns and the rural areas, and rural towns like Nina, Thurles, Roscrea, etc., who haven't received any sort of industrial development over the last number of years at all, and are unlikely to ever again, by the looks of things.
Yeah, was your understanding when they began to speak about harmonising the parking fees all over the county? I thought they were going to do what they said on the tin, which was to harmonise. But now they've divided the towns into three different groups, so there'll be three different layers of parking fees around the thing. Well, was your understanding that it would all end up the same?
No, see, as you describe me from time to time, Fran, you might be of the view that I'm a bit of a cynic.
Never done.
But you see, my fear was that it would go for the highest common denominator, as in the highest price.
Yes.
And a plague in all your house after that, you're paying this now and that's that. And that would be a major mistake.
Right,
But
so it could never have been completely harmonised, you think, Donal, anyway?
No, it could be completely harmonised at a lower rate, at the lowest rate possible.
Oh, sure, like that's going to happen.
I know, yes, but that's the thing, like, because if they can find a way of getting money out of you, they'll get it out of you.
They certainly will indeed. Talk to me about fashion before I let you go. Were you a bell-bottoms type?
Well, do you know what? It's funny you should mention that, because I happened to notice this last night, actually, on the RT News. I think it was Sharon Violan was wearing a very nice pair of red bell-bottoms.
Right.
And, yes, indeed. And I haven't seen this fashion since the 70s. So it hasn't making the comeback. And Leanne is telling me it's all the rage.
Right. Well, not around here, as far as I can see. Unless maybe is Leanne. Hold on till I have a look. Yeah, she's wearing kind of a flare there, all right. Yeah. So will we see Donald pretty soon in the bell bottoms again? Will you root them out from the back of the wardrobe or anything?
Friend, perish with thought. Absolutely. When they were in the 70s, I thought they were horrendous then. I think they're still horrendous now. It just doesn't look right from whether, because they say if one got a strong gust of wind on the day, one could potentially turn into Mary Poppins and take off. Now, speaking of which, though, I have a little story for you on that.
Yeah.
This happened to me a number of years ago. This actually is one of these things you could say, like our friend from One Foot in the Grave. I don't believe it.
Don't believe it, yeah.
But it did actually happen. I was, after coming out of Liberty Hall from a meeting a number of years ago, more years ago than I care to remember, walking down along the quays. And, of course, it was typical Irish weather, gusty and slightly wet. And I spotted this young lady coming against me in a red dress and red shoes and looks like red tights and the whole gear, like, and it looked very well. But as she approached me, maybe about 20 yards away, this massive gust of wind came and took the dress right up over her head.
Oh, stop.
To reveal the rest of her red entourage, I would say, which is quite fetching as well. And then, of course, the wind died down and the dress came down, and her face was the same colour as the dress that
Oh, the poor woman. Oh,
God help her.
The poor Donald. Oh, Lord. And as the old gag goes, did you chance one eye?
Fran, I was a pure gentleman. I averted
Of course,
my gaze.
you averted your gaze. Of course you did, Donald. We believe it. Donald, a pleasure as always. Look after yourself. Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye to now. And if that lady is listening to us, he did avert his gaze. Honestly, he did. Leanna's with us. Are they flares?
Oh, yeah. Skinny jeans are out, Fran. No one wears skinny jeans anymore. It's all wide legs or bell bottoms.
Are they? Well, I was never fashionable anyway, so why would I start now? Do you want to introduce what we're going to play here? Tell us what we can expect, Leah.
Oh, yeah. Well, you have a choice today, Fran.
Oh, okay.
You have a choice. So we have Cashel versus Clonmel Hospital, or we've the 1,000-year-old cheese.
Can I go with the Cashel versus Clonmel Hospital?
Yeah.
Because, you see, I remember this row. But tell me about the content of this.
Oh, so yeah, this one is very dramatic. It's a good choice. It's one of my favourite ones. It's the 7th of June 1988. So the South Eastern Health has to decide whether hospitals in Cashel and Clonmel should close or not. So this caused a big rivalry. So we've Dr. Paul O'Regan of Clonmel Hospital in the interview and Dr. Paul Farrell of St. Joseph's Hospital.
Oh, you're bringing me back in time with this. Now, let's have a listen. So the year again, Leanne, was what? 88?
88, yeah.
All right, have a listen to this.
For nearly half a century, Clonmel and its neighbouring town of Cashel, about 15 miles away, have rowed over which should be the home of the area's hospital. In the 1940s, Cashel was chosen as the centre and a new hospital building begun. All hospital services, surgical and medical, should have been under one roof. But pressure produced a compromise under which Cashel was confined to surgical cases. Medical cases went to Clonmel. The medical profession itself says this is a nonsense. The Fitzgerald report in the 70s said neither town should have a hospital. Waterford should handle all cases. Later, under political pressure, Minister for Health Brendan Corish produced an alternative plan saying that South Tipperary should have one hospital, but he didn't say where. Now the issue is live again under financial pressure. The Health Board says it can't afford both hospitals. It should be one or the other. And the board management has plumbed for Clonmel, saying it would only cost £2 million to move the 60-plus beds of the Cashel Hospital and its services to the empty space available in Clonmel Hospital building. Moving in the other direction would cost £10 million, since it would mean moving 170 beds and building new facilities. The row has flared up again. Cashel rejects the board's figures.
We have produced figures here in Cashel. We've had an architect look at the nurses' home, which is an identical construction to the main hospital building. It is excellent from a fire safety point of view. It's excellent from a functional point of view. It can be converted quite simply and quite inexpensively. We estimate of the order of 1.8 million to convert the facilities here to provide the entire service for County Tipperary, not just South Tipperary, but for County Tipperary in total.
Both claim to be the better centre insofar as serving most people is concerned. Clonmel can say it has the biggest single population of any town at 15,000 and a big surrounding population. But Cashel says it's the better centre at the heart of the county and capable of giving a service to areas in the north of the county too. And Cashel argues strongly that its reasonably modern buildings provide the better base and that the hospital in Clonmel is not suitable at over 100 years of age.
if age was a cause for condemnation of hospitals, you'd be closing Guy's Hospital in London, the Mater in Dublin, St Thomas's Hospital in London, etc. It's people who make standards, not the age of buildings.
In still pictures like these, Clonmel shows what it has already achieved in providing modern services in an older building. Big open areas have become modern wards. Another has become an up-to-date operating theatre for its maternity and other services. But Cashel says that if it is not chosen as the single hospital centre for the South Riding, the whole area could end up without any hospital at all. They claim that the £2 million the Health Board plans to put into Clonmel to make it the single hospital for the area would produce only a stopgap facility, and that in time the board would say Clonmel was not up to the job. That would then be closed down, and the only service would be available in the regional hospital at Ardkeen in Waterford.
2 million in present day terms is literally only a stopgap arrangement, and therefore what they're doing is to put in a stopgap for those 2 or 3 years until Ardkeen comes, and in that event obviously the biggest inland county in the country will then lose its acute general hospital service. So the only hospital with a future for County Tipperary is in fact here in Cashel.
But Clonmel can and does argue the opposite case. It's Clonmel or nothing, they say.
If a decision is made in favour of Cashel, it is illogical and has never been done in this country to move a hospital from a large centre of population such as Clonmel to a small centre of population such as Cashel with a quarter the size, and this will not be done. Likewise, the money, the £10 million which would be required in the present financial climate, will not be made available. So even if a decision is made in favour of Cashel as a site for the hospital, it will not be implemented. And we are really fighting to save a general hospital for South Tipperary.
Ultimately, it's politicians who will decide. The Health Board will face, or perhaps dodge, the issue on Thursday. Already political forces are lining up on both sides, and the lobbyists are at work.
There's an unfortunate situation in that the weight of logic and finance and population seems to favour Clonmel, but the weight of political might at present favours Cashel. They have a resident minister in Dr. Sean McCarthy, who I believe first entered politics on the Save Cashel Hospital ticket, and they have a number of other prominent politicians and political connections in the area, and thus there is a sort of a dynamic tension between what is morally and financially right and what is logical and the political power which lies on the side of Cashel, and this is a sort of a standoff situation at present.
And it certainly was a standoff situation indeed. And of course, as it turned out, Clonmel won out and Cashel were the losers. And I was saying to you off air as well, that's why there's still a huge suspicion around the hospitals in Cashel because of all the fallout from that and all those years, you know. So it's a remarkable piece, isn't it?
Yeah, I was reading through just commentary on it at the time, and it got dirty.
Oh my God.
It really got dirty. Even that little slight comment at the end about the political influence in Cashel.
Yeah.
It really, people were personally angry about this, and it really caused a divide between Clonmel and Cashel at the time.
There was war, and you know, that's been going on for so many decades, and there's still shades of it in the town as well. Tell me about the cheese.
Oh yes, the cheese. This one is brilliant. So we're going to July 1987, and 1,000-year-old cheese was found in a bog in Clough-Jordan. So Jerry Reynolds came down and he interviewed Tony Condon of Roscrea Heritage Centre about the cheese.
1,000 years old, the same generation as the Derry-na-Flan chalice, found in a bog at Clough-Jordan, County Tipperary, last weekend.
We know that it's dairy produce. It could be butter. Whether it's cheese or butter, we don't know for certain. Possibly chemical analysis may tell us something of that. But what we know from the site is that it was wrapped in the stomach of a large animal, probably a cow or a pig. And a wicker handle was used to carry it, and part of that handle was still surviving intact as well. It was buried fairly shallow. We know that because the layer of bog directly above the surviving portion of the wrapper, if I'll call it that, was completely intact. And the bog growth above that then sealed it in, and you had a period of perhaps 1,000 years of bog growth on top of it.
There is a bit of a smell off it though, isn't there?
Oh, there is. There's a pronounced dairy smell from it. And of course it's still edible. It's a good dairy smell. Still edible, but I haven't tried it yet.
Can we conclude from this that the Irish were the first nation on earth to develop the idea of intervention?
No, I don't know anything about that, but they certainly knew the preservative properties of bogs in the Middle Ages, in the pre-electric days, the days before fridges and deep freezes.
1,000-year-old cheese.
1,000-year-old. Now, I love this one because we have a bog and there's been lots of stuff we've even found in it. I think it was mustard and maybe butter at another stage. And even recently I was down there and we found a wheel off a cart.
In the bog?
In the bog, under layers and layers of the peat. Yeah, I think it was off a horse and cart, a wheel, and the old bottles of Dewan's.
Orange, yeah.
Orange, the bottles and different things like that. So we're always finding things. We never know when we cut down through the layers what's going to be next.
It's interesting. All right, so you've lots more from the archives that we can expect over the coming days and weeks, I guess.
Oh,
Leanne,
so many. And more weird things like 1,000-year-old cheese from Tipperary, because Tipperary just seemed to have the most obscure stories. Like, that was on the news.
Yeah.
This 1,000-year-old cheese.
I think Michael Ryan from RTE must have had a flat here or something.
I hope he got expenses or first class on the train or something.
All right, thanks for that, Leanne. Leanne produced today, and Stephen is on the way with the time tunnel. We will talk to you tomorrow. Look after yourselves in the meantime. Bye-bye.
Tipp FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puck-on. Main Peugeot dealers in the Premier County. And now stocking the full range of the luxury French car brand DS Automobiles. Book your test drive today with Slattery's Garage, Puck-on. See slatterysgarage.ie.